Are you sitting comfortably? Then we'll begin.
10 minutes left. Yeah, but there's still some time. It's not the final score. We need more than the numbers we're given. Show us you live and breathe the game. You're more than a name. That's what we came for. We can bring you more than the score. Every story. Let's take this thing off of the field into the real world, away from the numbers, away from the numbers.
Welcome back, my friends, to the show that never ends. There's still time. The AFTN Soccer Show, broadcasting on CITR Radio 101.9 FM from the unceded Musqueam Territory at the University of beautiful British Columbia. I'm Michael McCall,
And I'm Zachary Adam Eisenheimer.
and we're back with another packed podcast. We're also going to be talking Whitecaps. Fortunately, after horrible performance on American Independence Day, we'll talk some other MLS stuff. We'll talk Club World Cup, Gold Cup, CPL. We've got some audio to bring you from Jayden Nelson before his sending off, and a couple of the young guns that are in the Whitecaps mix and looking to impress. One has already, one's hoping to, and for the first team in the coming weeks, and that is Antoine Coupland and Nelson Pierre. Lots of football chat to be had, our good sprinkling of fun music thrown in as well. And before we get into all of that, Zach, how has your week been?
Very, very, very full. It's crazy how this is like the summer and like life is, kind of
I'm
going.
trying to like wind down and have a quiet summer, and you seem to be busier than ever.
Oh yeah, it's been an intense one, and it's gonna, there's no signs of slowing down actually this summer.
Oh, well,
A lot of it is
a road trip coming up that we'll talk about in part 4.
the road trip will be a nice, 48 hours or so of reprieve, but
Yeah.
But yeah, just a lot of getting ready for the Costa Rica trip. I still got a bunch of fundraising to do for that.
It's just over a month away now for you.
Just over a month, which is scary to say though. I wouldn't say it. No, God. But yes.
I just had a nice kind of relaxing weekend. Caitlin went over to the island to visit her dad and brother. Her brother's about to move to Fort St. John in a couple of weeks for a new job. I had to look up where that was. I knew it was somewhere kind of up north in BC near the Alberta border. I wasn't really sure where, but having seen where it is, I think that might be the last time she sees her brother for quite a while, because can't see us making a trip there to see him or him coming here to see us. So it was nice having the house to myself. So I thought, the wife's away, what will I do? I'll make the most of it. I'll just watch football all weekend. So basically no change to what it's like when she's here.
There you go.
The big problem, though, that I have with this is because the Whitecaps played on Friday, it's totally messed up with my head. I don't know what day of the week it is. I'm bad enough for that at the best of times because I've got a weird sort of structure and schedule in my life. But playing on a Friday night, just very confusing for me. I thought on Friday, because I knew the Whitecaps were playing all day, I thought it was Saturday. And then Saturday, I thought it was Sunday. So, yeah, messes with my head. And I guess that brings us on to the football chat now. And something else that really messed with my head was that Whitecaps game on Friday night and the horrible performance that the Whitecaps put in that 3-0 loss to the league's worst team in terms of official standings, at least, LA Galaxy. Second horrible performance in the space of 3 games. Sandwiched in between was a win, obviously over LAFC, which felt great at the time, felt like the perfect response that they needed. But one of the concerns last week, Zach, with that win against LAFC was they only actually managed one shot on target. It just so happened that Sabi put it in the back of the net. This game, they only managed one shot on target, and no one was able to put the ball in the back of the net. And even if they had, it wasn't going to make any difference because they gave up 3 goals to the worst team in MLS.
Yeah, I think it's important to point out the worst team in MLS, but they don't have the roster of the worst team in MLS, I don't think.
No, and also, as I was trying to point out in the build-up to it, because at training on Wednesday, Har asked, it wasn't Jesper, I think it was Sabi or Nelson. She was like, "You're playing LA Galaxy. They are very, very bad just now. They're a terrible team and they're the worst in MLS." And I was like, yeah, just give them something to put up on the bulletin board, Har. Because the thing is, I've watched a lot of their games this year. They've been so unlucky.
Yeah.
They've conceded so many late goals as the commentators, when the game got to the 70-minute mark, they're like, this is the time for all the LA Galaxy fans to worry. Which is true, because in the last 20 minutes and stoppage time of games, they have been shocking in conceding goals. And they've just had some really bad bounces and some bad luck. And their record belies the team and the squad that they've got and how they've played in games as well.
Yeah.
So I was always a little bit worried about this one. And it's like they're at home. They'd gone into this unbeaten in 4, 3 draws in there. But it's like, it was always a banana skin kind of game.
Yeah, I don't like the vernacular, but this is like what you would call a trap game, right?
Yeah, I didn't want to use that. I
Yeah,
went for banana skin.
I hate that language. Sorry.
I hate
Sorry to bring it
that
up.
as well. That and like statement wins and everything. That's like phrases that annoy me over here, which are now creeping into the vernacular of like over in the UK and stuff as well. But I mean, it was the kind of game that they could go and slip up on because you knew that they weren't at full strength.
Yeah.
And not making excuses because it was a terrible performance and they've not been at full strength before and got victories against better teams. But they let the Galaxy boss it, giving a goal up just 2 minutes in, set the tone of the game. It gave LA the chance to play with a little bit more freedom. And they took it and they were the better team and they deserved to win. And they could probably have won by more than 3 in the end because the Whitecaps, it was a horrible performance from start to finish.
Yeah, it was no bueno.
So it wasn't bueno, but it definitely was guano. It was only the Galaxy's second win all year in the league. They had come into, as I said, unbeaten in 4, but it's back-to-back games, as I said, against LA teams where they've mustered one shot. And we'll get into what this maybe says about the squad and the squad depth after we look at the game. I don't think there's too much need to delve too much into the game really outside of the goal. So 2 minutes in, Matheus Nascimento, who had a really good first half and he was putting the Whitecaps to the sword, shot comes in from distance, horrible goalkeeping by Yoki Takaoka, and the rebound falls straight to Nascimento and he's not going to miss from there.
Yeah. It's pretty unfortunate. Like this comes obviously, was it right after his selection to the All-Star squad?
Yeah, selected to the All-Star game, 2 horrible performances in 3 matches, but then in between it, a clean sheet.
Yeah,
it's weird, but this was. I mean, keepers do this, and what I will say is that pitch seemed way too watered. And I don't know, because this was right at the start of the first half, like the ball maybe had some water on it and that's why it span away from him. But
well, because it had rained, right? It was.
I don't know if it had rained or if it was just like they had the sprinklers on before, but the pitch was sodden.
I'm confusing this with one of the other games I watched this weekend.
I know that's the problem with so many things being like. Yeah, I mean, at the start of the second half as well, because they were definitely working the pitch at half time. The second half, the pitch looked waterlogged in places.
Yeah.
And that was clearly on purpose to slow the Whitecaps down, especially with their speedy guys in the wings.
Yeah, that sounds like something I could see Vanny doing.
Yeah,
can we talk?
It's sensible.
Can we talk about one side issue, which you and I haven't talked about?
Okay.
So when that opening goal goes in, and the celebrations happening or whatever, you can see that behind the goal there's a banner being held.
Yes.
The pro immigrant
Well,
banner.
they had a couple at the game, so they had a couple up before the game as well.
Yeah. And then what so then what happened? They left in protest, right?
Yes, they did a walkout,
Yeah,
which it was hard to tell who had walked out and who just hadn't turned up because it wasn't a full stadium to begin with. But in both the LA teams, you've noticed the numbers are less and less in the supporter section
yeah.
because there is obviously a strong contingent of Hispanic fans there, and they're concerned.
Yeah. Yeah, LAFC has definitely looked a lot thinner in the
Yeah.
end.
And the Galaxy, I mean, it's hard to tell if the results, with it being Independence Day, I mean, the crowd was announced quite high.
19? 19,000 or something?
Yeah, so I mean, it was a high crowd, but there was definite pockets, and in the supporter section before the walkout, it didn't look the fullest, and then after it, obviously, it looked a lot less. And it'll be interesting to see if they get fined for that banner. I would hope they don't, but will MLS view it as a political statement and fine them? Because it is a political statement, but I don't see anything wrong with it.
Yeah, but I mean, there's so many things that are political statement. I mean, MLS has or they used to have a military night. Like, how is that not?
Yeah, I know that was always like,
How
oh,
is that connected to like? Yeah. Anyways, whatever. Yeah. Anyways, I just thought it was. Yeah, I thought it was interesting that yeah, I thought it was interesting that kind of on a night. I feel bad for their supporters because on a night where they actually perform well,
yes, they missed their
they're
best game of the season, one of the best performances of the
yeah.
season, and maybe the turning point of their season. I mean, I think they don't have to like quite win out, but they have to string a hell of a lot of wins together to get into the playoff places, which we'll look at in a sec. But it could be the kind of thing that lights a fire under them. Look at the year that MDS got sacked and then Vanni took over here, like the other
Mhm.
Vanni, the good Vanni. The Vanni, the Italian Vanni, it's like he just got them going, got them on a run, and they got in the playoffs. And it looked unfathomable that they were going to get in the playoffs when he took charge of the team.
Mhm.
So, I mean, there's that as well. But that was it at half time. It was 1-0. And the the Whitecaps, they had some half chances. Nothing like too major. Ocampo had a couple of chances.
I like that you got receipts. You're reading off your notes from during the
Yeah, I had to
game.
write this down because I kind of tried to block the game out. Tristan Blackman almost put in his own net with it in the end proved to be a crucial leg out. But yeah, there wasn't really much to write home about. And you thought there's going to be some changes at the half. Jayden Nelson came on, and first 5 minutes in particular, Nelson was giving them such a torrid time. He was fired up. We're going to hear from him in part three. Fired up, maybe didn't get the opportunities away with Canada that he would have hoped to have got,
Hmm.
and wanted to obviously just get on the pitch, show what he could do, and was getting kicked all over the park in the first few minutes of the second half, and won a free kick when he was brought down right in front of goal. Perfect Pedro Vite territory. Vite struck a fantastic free kick, and the keeper, who was
Yeah,
in because of injury,
did well.
beautiful save to turn it away. And that was really as close as it got for the Whitecaps. Sad to say. And that was almost as good as it got for Jayden Nelson as well, which we'll come to. A couple of goals in the second half for Joseph Paintsil. His parents were over watching the game. It was the first time they'd been over watching him here. He responded with a couple of goals. Now, the first one, assists from Marco Royce, lovely little back heel.
Oh, nice.
The ball in from Gabriel Peck to start it as well. It tore the Caps defence wide open.
Yeah.
And in the commentary, I think it was Tate Johnson, Luke Wyoming was saying, "Oh, Tate Johnson needs to close down more." And what Royce wasn't his man. He actually
Yeah.
had to come out of position to try and get to Royce. Paintsil was his guy who he had been marking, but there's only two guys back for the Whitecaps. They were just ripped totally open in that one. And this was one of those games We've spoken about when you're 2 down, you still feel they can get into it. And even with the Galaxy's trouble late on, I didn't feel they were getting back into this one.
Yeah, it had definitely had a different feeling than most of their other games, like we've talked about earlier this year, where I felt like there's almost like not a game that I would have counted them out for. Yeah, but
If they tied it up from the Vite free kick, I think they would have gone on to win it because I think that would have been a mental damage to the Galaxy. I mean, even at 2-0, I guess if they had nicked the next goal, it was going to have the Galaxy panicking a little bit. I just didn't see where that goal was coming from.
yeah,
LA icing on the cake in the 77th minute. I don't think it was a penalty. I've watched it a couple of times and I don't see contact from Ranko, but it was given on the field. There's nothing definitive to me, one way or the other.
I
That
thought
I
he
think he
I
could
thought he
overturn.
got his heel.
See, it's hard to tell if he clips it. The way he goes down with the arched back, though, is like that's not what he's indicating has happened to him because you don't go down with an arched back from a clipped heel.
Yeah, but you go down with an arch back to make sure the referee sees you going
Yeah.
down. Yeah.
I mean, if there was contact, it was minimal. I
I
just
felt
didn't see it, but there was not enough to overturn it
well
for me.
on the play. I felt bad for Blackman actually, because Blackman in the build-up, he goes in behind Taka to cover the line just in case things get past him, and he's the one who plays all those guys on side for the rebound from the shot, right? Because if he's not there, if he's more
Yeah,
in like, in line with the back line, then that chance doesn't the chance where the foul happens it doesn't exist, right? So I understand what he's doing to cover, the line like that, but it's just so unfortunate the way he gets caught back there and he plays. I think it's like three guys on side,
yeah. I
and then
mean,
that the harsh, yeah, it's all feels a bit harsh.
yeah. I mean, the defense, which has been so good, 8 goals in 2 games against San Diego and the Galaxy, it's like completely different. And although the Whitecaps have been weakened, it's not been weakened defensively. One thing we should note, though, of course, is Andres Kubis was out for this game with his ankle injury. Jesper feels, and he spoke when interviewed him in the last episode. It hadn't been confirmed by that point, but off the record, the feeling was he wasn't going to make Saturday. But he says he's a quick healer, so he should be back sooner rather than later, and it's nothing too serious. It's
Does that
not a
mean
couple of weeks.
does that mean he's out of the Valor game?
I would imagine he will be, yeah.
Okay.
And it meant with Ralph Priso suspended, there was really only 3 midfielders that could play. Jeevan Badwal. I've seen a lot of folk not thinking he did well, and I don't think he had a great game. I don't think it was a great performance from him, and saying, well, why was he playing the number 6? He has been a defensive midfielder
Yeah.
for a lot of his time in the Whitecaps Academy. So that from the guys of Ngando and Badwal, Pedro Vite, it's like out of those 3, Badwal's the guy that you're going to put down there. And he didn't have a great game. JC Ngando had a horrible game as well.
Yeah.
And he hasn't looked good in the last couple of matches.
I saw some of the online criticism for Bad Wall, and I was just like, this is part of playing young players, right?
Yeah,
Like,
he's a teenager. He's getting put in the 6 role against a defence that's just going AWOL.
yeah.
But that is when you then need your number 6 to be back there if the defence aren't there.
Yeah, but like, what I'm saying is like they're gonna have some games that are not the greatest,
Yeah, that's
right?
what
Like,
happened. Like, look at Tate Johnson. He's had a couple of stinkers, but he's had some exceptional games.
yeah.
And
So
it does
I
come
guess
with a young player.
for Badwell, you just hope, yeah, for players like Badwell and Johnson, you just hope that they're learning from these difficult results, right, or these
Yeah.
difficult performances.
And you're not likely to see Jeevan back in that position unless it's needs must, which this game was, because if Kubis is out and Berhalter's here, Berhalter would slip into that role.
So yeah, I guess will Berhalter be around for Wednesday? He'll be back, but will he be
I
available for
don't know
selection?
that they'll play him. I think he might be on the bench.
Yeah,
Brian White, I would imagine, would get the start since he was used minimally
Yeah.
for this Gold Cup. And like we'll talk about
Put that later, yeah.
final briefly in the last part.
Would
But
you
I think
expect
if he's
bat?
facing the game and he's not one of the subs that you bring on with the form that he's come into that
Yeah.
tournament in, and I think it kind of shows where he is in Pochettino's pecking order.
Yeah.
I don't see him being involved going forward, sadly.
Yeah, that's unfortunate. Um, so does it, I mean, you think Badwell will be in that six again against Valor because
Oh,
it's Valor?
Priso's available.
Oh, yeah, right, right,
So I'd
right,
imagine Priso would be in
right.
there. Kubis might be good to go. I don't know that would risk him in that. I think you can get by with Priso
Yeah.
in that sixth role with Badwall in front, and if Berhalter can go, great. If not, put Viti in there. So I don't think we've anything too
Well,
much.
plus Priso and Badwell help you for the Canadian content.
Yes, and Jayden Nelson. He's going to have the next Saturday game off, so I'd imagine he'll get the start on Wednesday
Yeah.
against Valor.
Yeah.
Because I think this was, as frustrating as the whole game was, this is maybe the most frustrating thing because the second yellow was for kicking the ball away.
It wasn't for the shove.
No,
Okay.
it was for
You and I
kicking
were
the ball
talking
away.
about that. Okay.
Yeah. Now,
Okay.
if it had been for the shove, I'd have been up in arms because that was soft as anything for a yellow card. There was nothing in that. But it appears to have been for kicking the ball away.
Right. And he did kick it pretty hard and pretty
Yes. And he was frustrated. But if you're going to kick it into the stands, and the Galaxy fans were up in arms about what he had done off camera, although he's not time wasting or anything like that, he's kicked it into the stand. It's a yellow card.
Yeah.
It's petulance, it's dissension. So the ref's right to give him the yellow. It's stupidity, but I think it just boils up, which we'll touch before we speak to him in part three. Just everything in the last week or so, the frustration, Canada getting knocked out, him maybe not getting the minutes he hoped for, and then just the way that this game went on his first game back. I think it just all came together, all the frustration, and he just showed it in the worst possible way. And he's going to be missing now for the next game, which is a shame because you really could do with him.
Yeah.
But I mean, the referee in general, I didn't think was fantastic in this one.
I think I think I saw some criticism for him online from Peter Shad.
Yes.
I thought that was kind of
Yeah. I mean, he does kind of. I mean, he is a guy that's lost control of some games in the past. I
yeah.
watched a game this weekend with Tim Ford where there was 17 minutes of time added on in the second half, but that was because there'd been an injury, and so that was kind of why. But when I was watching that, I was like, oh, we haven't had Tim Ford since that incident. We must be due him soon.
No, they're gonna keep that. Well, actually, yes, with Vanny
Well,
gone.
Vanny's gone.
Yeah.
But Victor Rivas, he's not one of my favourite referees. And yeah, I don't think he had a great game. It didn't impact, for me, the result. Whitecaps were just simply not at the races in this one. It's one of those games you just want to immediately forget and move on to the next one. As bad as the San Diego game was, there was good things to take from that.
Yeah.
And it was just clinical finishing by a guy that's now on a tear and got another goal this weekend as well for San Diego. I can't see anything to take from this game at all. There's no positive for me.
Yeah, I hear you. Yeah, it's a harder pill to swallow. I think the fact that I mean, when you're playing San Diego, it's like that's the team you're competing with, so you know they're good.
Yeah.
Right? When it's the team that's in the basement, only one victory, all that kind of stuff, it's harder. It's a harder pill to swallow.
Oh, for sure. With the results they've been on, I mean, it might make me feel a little better if they now go on a run and they start to take points off other teams, which would also help the Whitecaps going forward if they can
Yeah.
take some points away. But this was the second of 5 straight away games in the league for the Caps. They're obviously at home on Wednesday in the Canadian Championship against Valor, or as Jayden Nelson likes to call them, Velour. But it's a tough trip coming up. Colorado, Houston, San Diego. And my understanding is they're going to stay away. So they're going to fly down to Colorado, then travel straight to Houston, stay down there, and then go to San Diego.
Oh, that seems wise.
Yeah.
That's nice.
So they'll kind of get used. They're going to have the altitude in Colorado, the heat in Houston, and maybe nice weather in San Diego, which I had toyed with going down to because I do like San Diego. Only been there once, and I really liked it. And I know Steve always loved getting down to San Diego. I am commentating, unfortunately, that day, so I it was a game I had to kind of pick. It's out in Langley, so it's a League One game, so I can't make it down. But maybe if they get them in the playoffs, I'll head down to that. But it's a tough 3 games coming up.
Yeah. As they get these players back from international duty, hopefully that's, helps helps turn the tide, if you will. But I think it is a really important block of games in terms of Jesper being able to help them show that they are the team of the majority of that first half of the season, as
Yeah,
opposed
because
to
everyone's just like, oh, the bubbles burst. It's
yeah,
like they've peaked, they've been found out, they know how to play against them. What I
yeah,
will say is every single league defeat has been when we've been under strength because players are away on international duty and some key
exactly.
injuries and or suspensions. It's not making excuses, it is a fact. So that is what gives me a little bit of hope that this is just a blip, and once we get our guys back, like Ali Ahmed was at training on Wednesday, not training, but he was walking around fine, didn't seem to have a limp, didn't have a boot on or anything.
Oh,
So
that's good.
hopefully he's getting good. Ryan Gold was there as well, but I don't know when we'll see him. As Jesper said to me and then to her the next day, look, until you see him on the training pitch,
Yeah.
he's going to be a month away once he gets on the training pitch.
Plus, again, with him, it's like I think we talked about this on another episode, but it's like you way rather make sure he's like fully
Mhm.
recovered, fully healthy, and with you for the playoff run than to bring him back, yeah, in the middle of the
Oh yeah,
season.
if he breaks down in a
Yeah,
game, it's like everyone's going to be like, "What are you doing, bringing him back?" The Caps
yeah,
can't win in this regard,
yeah.
but it's going to help getting White back. It's going to help getting Berhalter back, Kubis, hopefully sooner rather than later. Ali Ahmed, hopefully in a couple of weeks. The good thing is we've got a little bit of a break because there's I think about a 2 week or a 10-day break because we're not in the League's Cup. So that gives him a little bit of a chance of rest as well. Then there will be a semi-final, hopefully, in the Canadian Championship coming up. I think the second week of August that is going to be the draw for which is
Is
half
it
time,
halftime? Yeah,
which they did last year
yeah,
for one of the games as well. But it's it, it's an interesting way to do it because if the Valor game is still in the balance and Valor know who they've got waiting for them, it's a little added incentive for them as well.
yeah. I think
Let's just say Vancouver get by Cavalry and Valor go into the second half against the Whitecaps. They're still in with a chance of winning, and they know they've got Vancouver in the semi-final. Both those teams will fancy that they can win that tie and get to the final.
yeah, but I mean, if you're Valor, the incentive is. I think you don't need more incentive. You don't need
No,
more
if you're
motivation.
Valor, the incentive is not to get blown out of the water in this one because the Whitecaps are going to be back pissed and wanting to put on a show. And I think it will be put to bed by halftime. I think the Whitecaps will be out of sight. It's football, though. It's cup tie football. Strange
I
things
don't.
happen.
I think it also will depend on the starting 11. I think if Jesper gives it a 1A kind of or 1B kind of look,
I think
like
we'll
not
get Bomer in goal
yeah,
because he was playing for WFC 2. He was sent down to play that game on
yeah.
Thursday. So I think that was to get him sharp and ready.
Plus, I think yeah, that makes sense for him to have this competition, and it helps him with the minutes and or the Canadian whatever. But I mean, but I don't know. I'm more worried about the goalkeeping position. It's more the rest is the rest like a one. Is it the full like the best available starting 11, or is it more
I
like a
wouldn't
one
think it
B?
would be. Like I could see Blackman and Ranko getting rested, and you go with Halbuni and Utvik. I mean,
Yeah,
even like Mark O'Neill, who I'll talk about in part 3, he's had always call-ups for MLS, but he can get called up for unlimited Canadian Championship games.
but
And
that's where I'm saying though, Michael. I think that I if that is the case, I can see Valor still being in it at halftime.
Mm,
I
true.
mean, you're not wrong. They could also be being blown out by halftime, but
Yeah.
I think there's a chance,
I
anyways.
think we'll see Laborda as right back, Tate Johnson as left back. Centre backs, I think will be Utvik and Halbuni, but I mean, who knows? Priso in as the six, Badwall in there as well, Pedro Vite, and a front three. I think Brian White gets the start. I think he's fresh. He's going to be keen to get back on it. And you'll have Jayden Nelson, maybe rest Sabi, just because you know about that. And maybe even try Nelson Pierre out wide, which he can play out wide. Or maybe a young lad like Antoine Coupland gets the call up for this, which he can, again, get called up for unlimited non-MLS games. I think it'll probably be five or six that you would consider would be like regular starters. Then
Okay.
sprinkle in the guys that aren't too far off being starters that if you brought them in, you're confident about. Like Utvik, it's not had the greatest season, but I'm confident with him at the back. And I've liked Halbuni in the small sample size that we've had from him. And he did play in the first game against Valor as well. So
Right.
I guess we'll see how that goes. I think what the Galaxy game and the San Diego game has shown a little bit though, Zach, is that the team needs some upgrades, which midfield definitely, with Ngando maybe dropping off a little bit, Badwell still young and learning. I would like to see a more experienced midfielder coming in. I still would like to see another forward come in. And I guess this is a good time to mention Damir Krylak parted ways with the Whitecaps. Last game against the Galaxy.
Got a cameo. They announced it before the game, and then he got
Yeah,
a cameo, and then yeah.
he's basically our Olivier Giroud. I'm not sure he's going to go and sign with Lille, though. He is going back to Croatia. He hasn't ruled out still playing there, or he might go into a coaching role. But wish Demir all the best. He's a great guy, fantastic player. Just never saw the best of Amir Krylak when he was here, unfortunately.
Yeah. Interesting to see them use the buyout option.
Yeah.
And if they're using that, then yeah, there has to be a replacement.
Well, it's 495 as we spoke about last week, as that was one of the big standouts on the salary thing.
Yeah.
And we'd said the show before that, when you're chasing a game and you're not bringing him on, it kind of shows where he lies in the pecking order. So it makes total sense. I'm glad they've come to this agreement. It was kind of weird that they didn't just announce that he would leave after the Valor game, because then he could get the send off at home.
Yeah.
That he's been a big player for us, but you'd feel he would kind of want to do it in front of the home fans at least. But maybe they had to do it at this point because he's flying back or something's arranged, or
Yeah.
I don't know. But I would have thought that would have made a little bit more sense to do it at home. Kind of felt for him a little bit. I didn't know he was going to be up in the post game, otherwise they would have jumped on the post game. I just wasn't in the mood for asking any questions in the post game. But if I'd known it was Demir, I would have maybe jumped on. But I do feel we need another striker in there. So for me, a
Yeah.
striker and a midfielder.
Yeah. And as you and I talked about, I think off the show, I think it's not going to be one of these young kids, right? Or like the
No,
MLS two kind of
no,
prospecty type dudes.
no. And
Yeah.
I mean, defensively, I still think we're good despite these goals it's given up. And there had been the rumours that Fig Roll was coming, as I'd had all these
Luke
puns.
DeFigerolle?
I'd had puns to do Fig Rolls, Fig Newtons, all these jokes, and now it looks like he's going to sign a contract extension with Fulham, which, to be honest, is the
Yeah.
best thing for him. And
Yeah.
also, I never at any point saw how that would make sense him coming here.
No.
When who else is in the positions that he'd
When
be?
those rumors came up, yeah, I told you, I was like, this makes no sense to me.
Yeah, it was bizarre. So, I mean, hopefully it looks like there's going to be a couple of pieces coming. Glass City was teased, and there's going to be a big one in this. And if we're freeing up salary like we have, we're letting Krylak go. And who knows, maybe Berhalter could move on. There's interest in Kubis again from clubs in South America, according to stuff on social media. It does show, though, when Kubis is not in the team, like taking out the Cruz Azul game, that was a one-off horror show for him. When he's not in that squad, things do seem to fall apart a little bit, which is a concern if he is to move on.
Yeah. If you're Axel and you have the opportunity to make good money off of him and you think this is the peak for him, right? It's not going to get any better or maybe it's going to drop off. Yeah, maybe it's a good time to get rid of him, but you're right. If they don't replace him or they don't do something to add there, then it's a little bit, yeah, questionable.
And as we mentioned in the last show, speaking to Quinn Thompson, the club have learned from other big names that they've brought in, DPs that they've brought in, which funnily enough we're going to talk about in the next part. But yeah, we'll see. The transfer window doesn't open yet for another couple of weeks, so this squad just has to find their form. I mean, how much concern is there? If you look at it from the Cruz Azul game to now, they've had 2 games where they've let in 5 goals, 1 game where they've let in 3 goals, over 6 outings. But they played a good game at Columbus and were lucky not to get something from that. 2 clean sheets as well against a good LAFC side and a Seattle side where they were really under strength. So it's kind of hard to know just where this team is right now. I think the next couple of weeks when the players are back, by the end of July, we'll kind of know if we are Western Conference title contenders or just top 4 contenders.
Yeah, you say when everyone's back, but that again is excluding Golden Adekugbe.
Yeah. I mean, Adekugbe, to be honest, I don't see it as big a loss because of how well the other guys had done up to this point.
Yeah. And he's done for the year, right?
Yeah. He is a loss. I'm not playing that down at all. But
no, yeah.
Last thing I want to mention about the LA Galaxy game, I don't know if you saw my tweet. Did
Yes,
you see
I did.
the Whitecaps shithousery? That was top class. For anyone that didn't see,
that's normal though.
Yeah, I know. But for anyone that didn't see it, after the game, the Galaxy were doing their independent
4th of July fireworks.
So the fireworks were all set up on the pitch, and the stadium announcer said that the fireworks would not begin until everybody was off the pitch. So who were the people on the pitch? The Whitecaps, unused subs and guys that hadn't had much time doing their cool down and sprints, which they did for over 20 minutes after the announcement that the fireworks wouldn't start. And the video that I shared, and there's another video I didn't share as well that was longer, everyone thought, oh, that's the end now because they're walking off. No, they would just walk to the end and do more sprints. Every time they started sprinting, it was just like, boo! I loved it.
Yeah, but it's normal. I mean, if you stay at BC Place and you watch the players.
Both teams do it.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like, yeah, we don't care that you're having fireworks. I loved it.
Yeah.
But let's have a look at the MLS Lie of the Land to kind of round this part off. It wasn't the worst set of results this weekend. I watched either highlights or the whole game of a lot of the Western teams. Minnesota won a close one to close the gap in the Whitecaps to 1 point and the gap at the top to 2, and they still sit in third on 37 points. Whitecaps on 38. And I watched the whole San Diego-Houston game. Actually, no, I didn't. I watched the first half MLS 360 just to get the scores from the other games, and then I watched the second half of just San Diego-Houston. Have you seen the highlights of that one?
No.
Oh, fantastic game. Really entertaining. Great football. Makes me worried for the Whitecaps going to Houston in 10 days as well, because they went to San Diego, came away with a 4-3 victory. They took the lead, then they trailed, then they fought back, then they won it. And it was some really good football in that. 4-3 in the end, entertaining game. So good that San Diego lost that, because the Whitecaps still sit second, a point behind them, but they have a game in hand. So on points per game, they're best in the West. And if they win that game in hand, they would go above San Diego. And San Diego have some bye games, or not bye games, but they won't be playing MLS games because they are in the Leagues Cup. Mm-hmm. Ironically, replacing the Whitecaps, because the Whitecaps were in the Canadian Championship and the CONCACAF Champions League. It's not all doom and gloom as it maybe feels after that. I think anytime there's a defeat, you feel a bit down. In the nature of how that defeat was, you just feel a bit more down. But you look at the table just now. Whitecaps second on 38. They're 8 points above Seattle in fifth. And they've played the same number of games. So, I mean, that's fantastic. Above the playoff line, they're 12 points above the playoff line. Not that I think we need to look over our shoulder at that. Still got a good defensive record despite letting all those goals in. They still have the best defensive record in the West, albeit by 1 goal now over Austin. But they've given up 22 goals and they've got the third best scoring in the league as well on 35 goals. So I don't think there's too much to worry about. And if we can get the strengthening right as soon as the transfer window opens and we get some points from this next 3 games coming up, I think we'll push on towards the end of the season.
I did see, because you told me to watch for the incident at the end, I did watch the Seattle Columbus.
Yeah, so that was horrible.
Yeah.
We're
talking about a few horrible. We're talking about a few horrible incidents.
Yes, yeah, unfortunately. There was no malice in the challenge, just 2 players going for the ball. Knee goes into the side of Fry's head, jerks his neck back. And as soon as he went down, you saw the concern. There was players in tears. Because, see, like, when you think of Seattle in MLS, there's certain players that come to mind. Fredy Montero's one of them. For me, Stephen Fry's one of them as well.
Yeah.
Jordan Morris is another. It's like these are guys that's either come through or been with them for so long or they're staples of the team. And Stephen Fry's one of them. I know he's not always been there, but I think of him as a sounder more than any other team that he's been with.
Yeah.
And the concern was real. He got taken off the pitch, if anyone hasn't seen or read about it, in an ambulance. The good news is he's now posted on social media saying he can't remember much about the incident, but he's fine. And it was like precautionary. I was genuinely worried the way the reaction was that he might have broken his neck. But when you see it, it's like, well, I think it would be hard for him to break his neck that way, but you never know. But I don't want to say just a concussion because they are serious.
Yeah. But
it could have been a lot worse, and thankfully he is okay.
I also watched the Canadians play down in PDX. Max got the start.
Yes.
Kamal Miller.
Yeah, that was a decent game as well.
Kamal Miller didn't really help Max on the goal.
He's dropped off a lot since he went there. His stock was so high when he was with Orlando. And then even at Montreal, and then it's kind of dipped since. Actually, talking of Montreal, did you watch the highlights of their game?
I've seen that because someone I went to college with tagged me in a post about it because they were at the match.
Well,
they were visiting Montreal, went to the match.
What I would say is, if anyone just sees the 4-1 scoreline, they're going to think, oh, Montreal were terrible.
No.
Miami outplayed them. It's all messy. Montreal were the better team for large portions of that game.
Yeah, Montreal, like I just watched the highlights. I didn't watch the full game, but Montreal, I thought acquitted themselves not horribly.
Yeah, Prince Owusu could have had a hat trick.
Yes, he could.
Like he had so many good chances. Now, 2 fantastic goals from Messi.
And one called back, I think, too. I don't know.
Yeah. The last one, where he just like slaloms his way through, goes on a mazy run, doing what Messi does, and then a nice finish with a fortunate deflection that then fell straight back into his path. What I find interesting in that, now, all these games, you're obviously going to get Miami fans peppered across the stadium. In the supporters' end behind the goal when Messi scored, there was folk in pink jerseys celebrating, and I watched this back a couple of times to make sure my eyes weren't deceiving me. There's people, including 2 guys in the front row, wearing Montreal shirts, celebrating when Messi got that goal. Like, actually going cheering.
Which end, though? The ultra end or the bell end?
Not the bell end, the ultra end.
Oh, that's awkward.
Yes.
I thought they were yelling at him. Like
well, I mean, the one guy in particular, he's like, it's as if he's got his hands up. He's like, "Oh, look at that! That was magnificent."
Because all I saw was
fair, it was, I would have applauded, but I wouldn't have celebrated it.
All I remember seeing was like them gesticulating towards them. They seemed like they were angry or.
Okay, maybe I've picked up the body motions wrong.
No, I might have missed. I might have missed the guys who
But
looked like they were
but
celebrating.
there was a couple of folk in blue jerseys that looked to me at least that they were celebrating. If I'm wrong, my apologies to them. But yeah, I mean, if you haven't seen the goals from him, it was fantastic. But that's it for our MLS roundup. That's it for our Whitecaps chat about the action on the pitch. We've got more Whitecaps chat to come though in the next two parts. And in the next part, we're going to look at designated players. And we'll be back with that after this episode song from our album of the month.
Hi, I'm Damir Kralak, and you're guys listening to AFTN Soccer Show.
Welcome back to the AFTN Soccer Show on CITR Radio 101.9 FM. And kicking off this part, it's this episode song from our album of the month for July. The album is Frank Black's self-titled debut release, released in 1993 from the Pixies frontman. And that was a cover version and a different sounding version of the Beach Boys song Hang On To Your Ego, which is also known by the name I Know There's an Answer. But Hang On To Your Ego is what Frank Black called it. It was voted the 11th best Beach Boys cover of all time and was track 3 on Frank Black's self-titled debut album, the second single to be taken from it. It reached number 8 in the US alternative charts. And I meant to mention this on a show a couple of weeks ago. I like the Beach Boys. I've got the Beach Boys' greatest hits on CD. I liked their sound. And Brian Wilson passed away from the Beach Boys back on June 11th, aged 82. Really was a legendary figure in the music industry and a trailblazer. And can't remember if it was him that was friends with Charlie Manson or not. One of the Beach Boys was.
Oh.
Yeah, because Charlie Manson used to hang out with them and wanted to write songs for them and perform with them. Because I don't know if you know, Charles Manson was a singer.
Yeah, I knew.
Yeah, and he a failed singer and tried to release several songs and didn't quite make it. So yeah, he spent a lot of time hanging out with the Beach Boys. But they've got a lot of good songs. Frank Black does as well, and we've got more to come from him over the rest of the month. In this part, though, we're going to get back to the football chat, back talking MLS, and we're turning our attention to designated players. Because...
It's a big week for it.
I think TFC surprised many, mainly because it kind of felt they were never going to ever leave, when they announced the departure of both Lorenzo Insigne and Federico Bernardeschi this week. A special Canada Day gift for their fans on July 1st from MLSE. I mean, it frees up a whack of money, 2 DP spots, and 2 international spots.
Yeah.
Whether they utilise that or whether they've been burned a little bit and they're going to feel, well, this season's kind of got away from us now. Let's just wait. I guess we'll kind of have to wait and see. It was said to be by mutual termination. So we don't know how much of their contracts were paid out. Now, Insigne, 34 years old, second highest player in all of MLS. His guaranteed salary this year, Zach, was a staggering 15.4 million. That's just 5 million less than Messi.
How tall is he compared to Messi?
Oh, that I don't know, but they look similar.
Yeah, I know
Insigne is a good player.
No, he's a good footballer. I think the problem, Michael, is one of it is obviously performance, whatever. Like the performance wasn't there. But like we've talked about with certain individuals in the past, it's more than performance. It's like a lack of caring or a lack of respect for the club.
Just a perception to the outside world.
Yeah.
And also how you act, not just on the pitch, but the stories that come out from the dressing room, which, to be fair, seemed worse about Bernardeschi from that side of things. But Bernardeschi always kind of felt that he cared more on the pitch.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah.
Like, if it wasn't, and we'll come to Bernardeschi in a sec, if it wasn't for some of the stories that had come out about Bernardeschi from behind the scenes, he's a guy I would have taken here because of just how he would complement like Brian White, Ryan Gauld, Pedro Vite, and the excitement that he could bring. But I think the other stuff that comes with him is like big warning flags of no.
Okay, I maybe haven't heard as many of these off the field.
Oh, I'll come to this in a sec. Just to finish about Insigne, talking about his performance on the field, 19 goals, 16 assists from 76 overall appearances. So 35 goal contributions and 76 appearances.
Which is not bad.
I think that as well. It's not 1 and 2, but
it's not $15 million a year.
No, that's the problem. As soon as we've spoken, and we're going to get to the Whitecaps DPs in a bit, but we've spoken before about this millstone around the neck of having this tag. I kind of don't like the designated player tag for that reason.
But it's the same in every club, Michael. Everyone knows who's the highest paid player,
but not all the salaries are out there in different leagues around the world. That's part of it as well.
And but they are the big ones for the most part.
Oh no, yeah. I like what folk are earning a week. And let's be honest, MLS salaries are a drop in the ocean compared to what the big 5 leagues pay. Like $15.4 million is nothing over in Europe.
Well, to some degree.
Yes.
And also depends if we're talking gross or net.
Yes. Messi could get his accountant to kind of work on some stuff for him, maybe.
Yeah, I wouldn't trust that dude.
But 15.4 million in MLS money is obscene.
Yeah.
And you need better than less than 1 and 2 goal contributions when you're bringing that in.
And everyone... And to be fair, too, like everyone understands why Toronto FC did this, right? Like,
oh yeah,
they struck gold with Giovinco, right? A little Italian, whatever. This was kind of the redux of that, the doubling down by having 2 high quality Italians come in and whatever, and they thought, okay, we can just do this again, and it'll lead us to more titles and printing more money and whatever. But it really backfired. And again, when you read those stats, it's like, yeah, that's pretty good. But again, it then highlights even more how even just like the body language and the lack of actually caring about the club really was so detrimental to Insigne at Toronto.
But also, and this is something we've been consistent on the podcasts since we started from day one about this. You need a supporting cast around your top guys.
Yeah.
And you're just one injury away from your top guy being out and your shitload of money being spent on him as well. And you saw that with Messi going down last year to injuries at Miami. But if you haven't got the supporting cast there, one guy's not going to do it all. Messi even can't do it all himself. It sometimes feels in some games like against Montreal that he can. But in most games, you've got to have that supporting cast. And by supporting cast, I'm not just talking about world-class level players, but you need players with a football IQ that can play with these top guys so you know what they're going to do and where you need to be on
Yeah,
the pitch.
totally.
And that's what let TFC down, amongst some other things.
Yeah.
This year, when Insigne came back in, I didn't think he looked too bad. 1 goal and 3 assists from 13 games isn't a great output,
No.
but it felt he was trying. It felt like he was contributing. And
Yeah. But
on the whole,
from the beginning though, wasn't it kind of like Robin Fraser was not going to didn't really want to include them?
it felt that way, yeah. And then kind of a needs must situation came with injuries, and the fans didn't want him. They had all the banners on motorways and stuff. For Bernardeschi, he's younger at 31. He's 3 years younger. He was the sixth highest player in the league on just under 6.3 million, which not an obscenely high amount compared with some other people. But you do need obviously contributions if you're getting that. Now, he scored 26 goals and had 16 assists, so 42 goal contributions from 99 appearances. So again, not quite at the 1 and 2, but I think he still chipped in well. This year, 15 games, 4 goals and 3 assists on a team that hasn't been great.
No.
He has had 4 red cards in there, though, as well, and some of them were just stupidity.
Yeah.
Now, talking about the behind-the-scenes stuff, some of this I remember from the time. Some of this, I was watching a Soccer Wise podcast this week where they were talking about this, and they were talking about some of the incidents. I was like, oh, I'd forgotten about that. But also there's some incidents in there that I hadn't even heard about. So a couple of the big ones that stood out is apparently, allegedly, he sparked dressing room unrest to get Bob Bradley fired. He had Zoom meetings with the players to get a consensus that they wanted to go and say, we want Bob Bradley fired.
Oh, wow.
How he then felt when he was replaced of John Herdman, Lord only knows.
Maybe not great either, but I can see a player like Bernardeschi not being a fan of Bob Bradley
Yeah.
very easily.
I mean, I remember those being talked about at the time. I like Robin Fraser as well. I don't think Bernardeschi probably thinks the highest of him. Might be wrong. No, not seeing anything on that. Bob Bradley is the kind of coach that he's not going to take some of the shit either from Bernardeschi. And one of the things that was mentioned on the Soccer Wise podcast that I don't remember hearing, now I must have, because it sounds like quite a big thing. Apparently, he wouldn't stop vaping in the locker room. And his teammates were calling him out for it, including Mark Anthony Kaye.
Yeah, that's awkward.
That's just bizarre to me. That just shows no respect for
'cause
your
you're not,
teammates or the locker room.
aren't you
or
like
your
not allowed
body.
to vape indoors, right?
No.
Yeah.
But I mean, in front of your teammates.
Yeah.
And
Well,
you get asked to stop and he doesn't stop.
here's the thing. I don't know if we ever talked about this on the show, and I won't go into the details, but I think people would be surprised at how many high-level professional athletes do engage in some form of smoking or another.
Yeah. Whenever I see one in a picture smoking, I'm like stunned.
Yeah. I've experienced a little bit.
Like,
I've been around. Sorry, I've been around at least one time I can remember, and I was just like, "Oh, that I did not expect to see that." Okay,
yeah, I expect that to say East Fife's level because they're part-time players and they smoke and they drink. I still think if you want to be a professional footballer, smoking or vaping is not the ideal thing.
No.
At that level, it's like I kind of expect it, I guess. But at the top level, to me, it's like staggering. So, I mean, there's obviously been so much chatter about those two this week. Lots of folks saying they're two of the biggest busts in MLS DP history. I mean, to put it in context, Ryan Gall's currently the 22nd highest paid player in MLS on 3.65 million. But it's not just about money. It is about performance, attitude, contributions on and off the pitch. I don't think anyone questions Ryan Gall's. I mean, do you feel they were two of the biggest busts in MLS DP history?
Yeah. Again, the lack of respect for the club and, if you will, the league, I guess, it does overshadow their actual output, their actual numbers. I think there's been players that have been bigger busts in terms of their output and performance, though, right? Like
See, I do
Was
as
it
well.
was Jermaine Defoe similar? Like he scored a bunch of goals, but it was like, yeah, this is not for me. I got to get out of here.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And there's been a few players come over from Europe, from the UK in particular, that just haven't done great. And I think so much of folks saying it's the biggest bust comes down to the salary. And
yeah,
it's Insigne's most of all, because it is obscene to be that much above everyone else in the league that are performing better than you. So
yeah,
Insigne can see it. Bernardeschi, I don't think on the pitch was as bad as a lot of other players, but just the whole package, it's just a little bit more unsavoury. But they've gone now, and TFC can move on, and it's how they move on. I guess everyone's kind of waiting to see. But it got me thinking, Zach, to the Whitecaps designated players, the best, the worst. There's been 19 of them, and what I would say, the little asterisk beside these, is not all of them are your traditional designated players. Some of them were designated players because it made sense, salary cap building on the roster. So instead of
yeah.
using Tam or Gam, they had them as DPs. So there's some players on that list of 19, and we won't go through the whole 19. Actually, maybe I will go through the whole 19 just very, very quickly, just because there's going to be a lot of folk that are maybe newish to the club or don't remember them all. Because I had to do some research digging in this for some of them as well, because I was like, I'm sure I'm missing some, and I was. So in alphabetical order, I'll just rattle through these. Ali Adnan, Joaquin Ardiez, Stuart Armstrong, Lucas Cavallini, Sergio Cordova, Andres Kubis, Ryan Gauld, Eric Hasley, Hwang In-beom, Mustafa Jarju, Mati Laba, Kenny Miller, Freddie Montero, Pedro Morales, Octavio Rivero, Barry Robson, Mauro Rosales, Breck Shea, and Kendall Waston. Don't think I'm missing any out, and that is the 19. 4 Scots in there to varying degrees of success. So, I mean, some great servants to the club in there, some key contributors to the club, some bad ones as well. So I got you to pick your best 3 and your worst 3 as well. Now, when you sent me your worst 3, I said, oh, it's the same as mine. And then I looked and I was like, oh, no, it's not, because I changed one out. And we'll come to that. Let's start in the highs.
No, let's do it. Let's start at the low.
Start with the lows, okay.
Yeah, get the worst out of the way.
All right. So for me, my worst 3 in third place was Barry Windmill Arms Robson, described in an interview with AFTN by Brad Knighton as the angriest man he's ever met. 18 goals, 18 games played, 18 goals, and he wouldn't be in there. 18 games played in a half a year, 3 goals, 1 assist, went back to Scotland, never came back.
Yeah, he was not a fit culturally well, in multiple ways, but yeah.
He was
Football
prickly
culture.
with the media.
Football culture, yeah.
Yeah. He was
He
prickly
couldn't-
with the media, but not with me. Like, he was very gracious with me, and it's obviously because I was Scottish. And right early on, I told him I saw him play his first professional game with
Yeah.
Inverness Cali Thistle, because it was against East Fife. No, not his first game. Sorry, he scored his first goal in that game. So we got off on a great foot, and he had time for me. But on the pitch, berating his teammates as much as he did,
Yeah.
kind of put him in the bad books of a lot of fans, just because they weren't used to seeing that over here. And
Yeah,
culturally, it's as you say, it kind of looks different.
I remember talking to Kenny Miller about about him and just being like, "Is the dude gonna be okay here?" And Kenny's like, "Yeah, don't worry." He's like, "I'm, I'm trying to take care of it."
Yeah. Whether this is just one of these urban myths that's grown arms and legs or not, but the story is he was told, oh, they play on turf. And he's like, yeah, thinking turf is grass.
Yeah,
And then he gets off the plane, he finds out that, oh, turf is something different over here, and
yeah,
just never liked it. Whether that's true or not, I don't know. I like it as a story, so let's just go that is fact. But he made it into number 3 for me because I took someone out. But the guy I took out is your number 3.
yeah. Sergio Cordova.
Yeah.
I was really, really, really disappointed having seen some of his play in Europe, in the Bundesliga, Augsburg. Yeah, I thought, oh, this is actually a great signing by Axel Schuster, and this is someone who really could be that player, that striker who comes in and not just challenges White, but takes that spot from White.
Mm.
It felt like he didn't have the desire or didn't have I don't know. Was he injured? I'm trying to remember back. Was he
Well, I mean,
injured?
I don't know because he played 26 games and he left in July.
Right.
So I'm not sure. But a lot of those 26 games were fleeting sub appearances. And
Yeah.
the reason I didn't put him in, now he got 4 goals and 1 assist in those 26 games, which for a forward DP is not a great return. And
No.
it's nowhere near what he produced with RSL. Now, you can say the same for Damir Krylak, but Krylak had the back injury and he's never been the same since.
And he wasn't a DP, like you said.
Yeah.
Sorry, the other thing I would agree with is I think he suffered from being under a coach who had limited ways of using players.
Yes. And that is why I ended up taking him out because I felt he took a bit of time to settle into the team and to the city. Now, he's Venezuelan, and we know it's tough sometimes for the South Americans to settle in Vancouver. It's common, it takes them a long time. But he has been in North America before, so it wasn't his first time in a North American environment. But it's hard if your family's not here, or if they're here and they're not settled. But I think he was just starting to find his feet. But I also think Vanny was not utilising him to the best. And I think that's what hit him finding his rhythm, finding his flow. And that's the only reason I took him out. He's very close to being in that third spot for me.
That's fair.
Before we go to the
I
top,
was like, I like how you put in one of your countrymen to show you're not fully biased.
yes. Well, yeah. Before we go to our top two, which we do agree on, some hat tips here.
Oh yeah,
And I've got to give one to Lucas Cavallini. 18 goals from 68 games played. It's okay, but again, not a great return for a DP that is on the biggest salary at your club. 23 bookings in 68 games. Just the 2 red cards, which is actually less than in my head as to what it was.
yeah,
He did have other suspensions for red card accumulations, or sorry, yellow card accumulations. And that was quite something that you can't get over, but he never hit the heights that you hoped or expected.
yeah. And then you got a couple other here.
Yeah,
Uh,
Sam May Shea, I just
yeah,
wanted to do that pun. Breck Shea, who was one of those guys that was only a DP because it suited the salary cap need. But then the triggering off him to make his salary what it was is another stuff of folklore.
it's not stuff of folklore, it's stuff of fact. Like,
No, but folklore is
oh
fact
yeah, yeah,
that is
yeah,
in the
yeah, yeah.
annals of your club's history.
Yeah, I thought that was one of the most awkward things. You won't see Axel Schuster allow something like that to happen.
Octavio Rivera is another one. He wasn't great, but I can make
Yeah,
a case for him not to be in the bottom three because he got goals.
well, yeah, he came out of the blocks flying, and then whether it was more excuse to get away or it was legitimate, the dude was suffering with some mental health issues, right? Like
Yeah.
that was a significant part of his story in Vancouver.
And Stuart Armstrong, folk will say, oh, he was a bust because he was here for less than half a season, then wanted to leave right away. That, yeah, but he contributed in the games he played.
Yeah,
He was important in the playoff run last year. He got goals, he got assists.
and then he
He
got
did
relegated.
contribute.
He got relegated, right?
He didn't get relegated. Sheffield Wednesday just didn't get promotion.
Oh, sorry, that was it.
But they released him at the end of the year, which for him is great because Sheffield Wednesday have not been paying their players and they face a points deduction.
Has he landed anywhere yet?
Well, the rumours are Wrexham's interested,
Oh,
which would then be a tremendous move for him. But the thing I can make an excuse with is his wife had just had a kid.
yeah,
All the support systems back in the UK. He didn't want to come here, to be honest. And it was just the best fit in the end for him.
yeah.
And you can't say he came here and didn't give his all because when he was
That's
playing,
true. Yeah,
he was excellent. So that's why I didn't put him, but I could see why some folk would.
yeah.
So our top two. Number two, Uruguayan striker who I'd actually forgotten all about and I'd missed him off my list when
Yeah,
I was doing it. Joaquin Ardiez.
that's right.
And when I saw the name, I was like, who was he again? I barely remember him. And then I Googled him and his picture came up. I was like, oh, it's my crime fighting detective buddy from the podcast.
Yeah, the tattooed wonder.
The neck tattoo.
Yeah,
I had so much high hopes for him. He looked a beast.
yeah. I mean, he was.
But I mean, it's hard to fight crimes at night and do it on the pitch during the day. And I blame myself maybe for that.
Where did that whole crime fighting thing come from again?
I don't know. We were
You just
talking
started
about him
it?
and I said he looks like somebody that would be like a crime fighter and me and him could be in a detective thing together. I don't know how some things start in our show, but then it was a running joke after that
There you go.
that I'd forgotten all about until I saw his neck tattoo.
But he didn't score in 18 appearances, right? In the
Yes.
league and the cup, which is
Yeah.
pretty horrendous.
Came here in 2019 under MDS as a young designated player. So not a fully blown one, but he was a designated player. And then number one, if we're talking about stuff in Whitecaps MLS folklore,
Yeah.
it's the one and only Mustafa Jarju.
Yeah.
That I always like to point out, I saw him score for the Whitecaps, and I have it in video, and it's on the AFTN YouTube page. Sadly, it was in a reserve game down in Portland.
Portland,
But
yeah.
he did score.
Was I at that? I think I was at that game.
You were probably at that as well, yeah. It
Was
was
it
the
the one-
Sunday after the Saturday game.
Was that? Yeah, and that was at PGE, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I gotta put that in the footballogy. Yeah, I mean, I think it was Ridge Mabula who told me, who was still in town during that year, who told me that, which I think I shared on the show before, but like, yeah, he basically got off the plane. It was just like, yeah, like he was homesick or like he didn't feel like he belonged here. And like the team would do stuff and he'd be like, yeah, Ridge, can I just hang out with you? Like the team would like, they'd have like get-togethers or they'd have whatever or optional gatherings or whatever. And everyone would go off and do stuff. And he'd be like, yeah, Ridge, can we just hang out?
Ah.
Yeah.
I mean, I felt for the guy, and he did go on and get some goals some places, as did Diaz, but it was lower level. And
Yeah.
there was a guy, because you thought about this guy, and I did as well, and I'd actually Googled it, because I was like, was he a DP or not? And he wasn't. He was a TAM player, which was Anthony Blondell.
Oh, yeah. But
I
that's a
think-
disaster for
Yeah.
other reasons.
If he ever comes back to Canada, there's a
He'll be staying a while.
yeah, I believe there's
Sorry.
still a warrant out for him. So
Sorry, I shouldn't joke about that. Yeah.
no, I know, because it's a horrible thing, but
It
it
is.
is like he in his time here, 1 goal in 18 games, so better than RDA's.
Yeah.
But yeah, some off the field stuff, unfortunately, which we won't go into and bring the tone down. I haven't seen your top three.
I sent it to you. Oh, I didn't send it to you in order.
Oh,
I sent all of them. I sent you 3 lists.
Oh.
I have a. I kind
oh,
of.
no, you did. I apologize, yeah, because you
Yeah.
had your favourites and your top three. So let's give your top three, and then I'll do my top three.
So mine is a little different because I tried to remove. I mean, I guess I weighted some of the more recent stuff more highly, and I also tried to remove some of my personal bias, and that's why I have a third list with 4 people on it that we'll get to after.
Yeah.
So yeah, for me, obviously number 1 is Ryan Gold. I think that's a cakewalk, hands down, no problem.
140 appearances, 45 goals, 46 assists.
Yeah,
But in that, you're looking at him, and you're looking at 91 goal contributions and 140, which then going back to Bernardeschi and Insigne kind of shows up
yeah.
how bad they were.
The person who I have second on my list is someone we talked about earlier in the show about maybe, he's reached his peak and it's time to move on from him. And he obviously had his worst game as a Whitecap in the Whitecaps' biggest ever game, but that's Andres Kubas.
Yeah, I had him
think-
fourth in mine. If I was
Okay.
doing a top 5, he'd have been in at 4.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I just think the way he came in and helped solidify the midfield and help out the defense and provide a little bit going forward and composure and experience, and obviously he plays international, which is I think helpful for the club overall in terms of their profile. I thought he brought so much, and I think kind of one of those players, obviously in a position that is you typically underrated and undervalued. And I don't know, I thought a lot of him. And then my third one, which is I think going to find his way onto your list, is Pedro Morales.
Yeah. He was number 2 for me. Like Ryan Gauld, I had as number 1 with you, but I had Pedro as 2.
Yeah. So obviously, his playmaking, but also his scoring. He was the penalty taker and very good from the spot. Yeah, he elevated that Robbo team like from the day he started. I think it was the 2014, was it the 4-1 against Dead Bull, I think was the game, if I'm thinking
his
right?
debut.
Yeah, that game was
I still remember that. He
unbelievable.
came on and we were like, wow.
Didn't he score and then also set up Kenny Miller with that ball over the top?
Possibly.
Yeah.
Well, the thing is, he had 95 appearances here, which is the most appearances he's had for any club in his career.
Yeah.
He's retired now. 29 goals, 22 assists, so 51 goal contributions, so more than 1 and 2.
As a midfielder.
Yes.
He was the maestro. It was, yeah. I mean, Gold is different than him. Because Gold, I think, floats more and plays more as an out-and-out attacker, whereas Morales is a midfielder. So they're different kind of players that you could have actually, if time wasn't an issue, could have had to play them together. Would have been interesting kind of dynamic duo.
Yeah.
But no, he just elevated things, and I had a lot of time for him. Obviously, at the end, he had issues with injuries in his back, and
the injuries killed his time here, and he was never the same after that first back injury. And it's like Krylak. It's like once you've got that, it does affect your game. And obviously, he left a little bit under a cloud after the big bust up with David Ousted at training.
Oh, I forgot about that.
Oh, I remember it because I was there and I saw it play out. And it was like, whoa,
crazy.
What is happening here? But he towards the end of his time here, it did feel that he didn't give a shit. Like talking about Insigne and Bernardeschi's attitude, it kind of came across a little bit like that. And that's why Ousted called him out.
Yeah.
But that was at the time where things were getting really cliquey in Robbo's era with the South Americans. And you saw it at training. Like the North Americans would be in one huddle chatting, the South Americans would be in another talking Spanish. And it did feel there was a little split in the team. He was the captain. How much of that falls on the captain? How much should the captain be bringing the two groups together? I don't know. But it's a shame. But he was one of the best players.
But when I talk to some players from that era, there's actually, I think, there was more harmony than we were led to believe. Like when you talk to those players, it's like, yeah, of course there was, different people. Like in any team, you hang out with certain people more than other, but the harmony was really good. It was only, there was certain issues that happened, which you and I have talked about before.
Yeah,
we don't need to get into the weeds.
No,
because in the weeds you might get bitten by.
But he's made number 2 in my list. I initially was going to do top 5. I thought we'll just do it as 3 because my number 5, my hat tip is to Matti Laba. He'd have come in 5th for me. 129 games played, 4 goals, 2 assists. Got a transfer fee for him. Great bringing him in because Toronto had too many DPs and they had to get rid of one. We gladly took him, and he was the Kubis before Kubis.
Yeah,
Kubis is an improvement though. On
yeah,
Laba.
yeah.
Laba was excellent.
He's on my third list that we'll get to in a minute.
Yeah. My number 3, who's also on your third list, I'm sure that we'll get to in a minute, is Kendall Waston.
Yeah.
Another captain of the team. Actually, my top 3 all captains, incidentally. Yeah. Costa Rican international, 137 games played, 15 goals and 8 assists from the defensive role. Dominant in the defence. 5 years here. A true servant of the club. And again, for some folk, he left a bit under a cloud because of the whole disastrous 2018 end of season media availability and things that were reported that were taken a bit out of context after Robbo's firing, which he clarified in our very long but very enjoyable chat with Kendall.
If you haven't heard that, go listen to
it. I know it's another running joke at one of my favourite interviews. That was though. It's like an hour on the record, another hour off the record.
Yeah.
You're going to go and see him in a couple of weeks.
Yeah. Let's do your hat tips and your other mentions, and then I'll do my other list.
Well, outside of Matty Laba, I've no other DP really to give a hat tip to, but there are a couple of players that I feel deserve to be designated players and weren't. One of them is Brian White. When you look at 167 games, 70 goals, 15 assists, a salary at just over $1 million, if he's happy with that, why put a DP tag on him that just puts the extra pressure on him? But he is somebody that is deserving. If they said tomorrow, we're going to make him a DP, I don't think there'd be many folk who would be like, oh no, we shouldn't. And a player we should have made a DP.
Yeah, would have solved a lot of problems.
Yeah, Camilo Sanvezo. I feel, again, just because he posed in that jersey, that set the narrative of how the fans viewed him, that he was forcing the move. But we did an interview on the written side with his agent that clarified a few things. 102 appearances, 43 goals, 17 assists. So 60 goal contributions in 102 appearances, 2013 Golden Boot winner, not just Whitecaps Golden Boot winner, MLS Golden Boot winner with 22 goals, scored a hat-trick in the last game of the season to seal that. He averaged nearly a goal every 2 games. He went to Mexico with Querétaro, officially retired now. And when he was here in 2013, was on just shy of 275,000. Felt he should have had more, whether DP or not, I don't know. But he deserved more than that. And if you've got a guy that's just won the Golden Boot, you want to lock him in. And if locking him in is a DP, which back in those days salaries were lower, I mean, you maybe didn't even need to make him a DP, but he deserves a hell of a lot more than 275,000.
Yeah, and that was the problem, right? Like the Whitecaps took the position of you're under contract, like we have your option.
Yeah, this is it, like it or lump it,
Yeah.
which we've seen in recent years under Axel. Whole different mindset.
Exactly.
We know you're on a contract. We want to give you an extension now and a higher salary to reward you.
Exactly.
And keep you here.
So if the Whitecaps had done that, then it would, yeah.
You have. I know you shouldn't look back, but it's hard not to.
No.
But it's like, have him for another season, what that could have done.
It was a huge, huge, huge error.
Yeah.
Because I mean, part of the problem, Michael, was he was doing most of the goal scoring, and he's looking at one of his. We played 3 at top at the time, but he's looking at Kenny Miller next to him, who was making over $1 million, I think.
Yep.
And Kenny had some respectable numbers, but not his numbers. And he's
also,
like,
Kenny had an established and a distinguished career, which
totally
didn't have, because he was playing over in Malta before the Whitecaps brought him here.
But still, when you're making like a quarter or whatever it was of the guy next to you, and you're producing whatever it was twice as much as him or whatever, like you're kind of like, yeah. Anyways, yeah. So I made just another list. These are my favorites of them. Number 1, obviously Kendall Waston. We won't go into that anymore. Number 2, Eric Hastley. Yeah, so much time for him, and still message with him to have a lot of time for him and his family. And then who's number 3 on my list now, Michael? I'm forgetting. I got it right here. Oh, it disappeared. I know who number 4 is. Oh, Kenny. Kenny is my number 3. I had a lot of time for Kenny Miller. He was really good to deal with, whether it was just casual, like, hey, you're walking to, like, back in the day before the Park Casino was there was a parking lot outside the East Gate. There was an East airlock, and that's where we used to access to bring stuff in and out of the stadium. It was a much easier time, but he used to park in that parking lot. A lot of the players used to park in that parking lot because it was easier. So whether it was a chat in the parking lot or whether it was just connecting after a game, or it was a request to say, hey, will you come and celebrate with the supporters at the end of a match? Or when he left, he'd given me a bunch of his boots or something. And so then I gave him to Harley. I gave him to Andrew Harley because he's a big Rangers guy. And then Kenny was back playing with Rangers against Highlanders or something. So we went to the game, and it was like, I don't know if I messaged him or what, but we yelled him or tracked him down. He came over and was like, will you sign Andrew's boots? He's like, absolutely. He had a lot of time for him. He was just because he was one of the more like high profile Whitecaps players who had played at a high level, played for
Yeah.
a big national team in Europe, or at least in your mind, a big national team in Europe, and was like, yeah, an established European footballer who he was just down to earth. And obviously, yeah, his story of his leaving and some of the online comments and stuff, yeah, that was very unfortunate. But no, I have a lot of time for Kenny. And then my fourth is Matty Laba. Matty Laba, quiet dude,
Yeah.
but just a lot of time for him. Also, his family too was really good to connect with. Julio, his father Julio was really great. Yeah, in terms of the DPs, I think those are probably my four favorites.
I mean, if I'm picking my favourites, I'd have Ryan as first. Obviously,
Yeah,
biased, Scottish. Kenny would be up there. He was always very gracious with his time
yeah,
to chat to us, as you mentioned, and like when we did official things, he was like even recently when he was at Falkirk as assistant coach, he was going to do an interview with us, and then we just couldn't get the times
right,
to align, and then Martin Rennie got sacked, and then he left, so we never ended up doing it. But it is something that I hope to get somewhere down the road with him and just chat about stuff. So I always did a lot of time for him. Kendall always loved chatting with him. More actually now that he's left as well. I think we've got a better relationship than not that we didn't have a good relationship, but it's like I can sit and chat to him now and
oh yeah,
not a player. And you won't agree with this, but I loved Freddie Montero. And I wish it had worked out differently under MDS the second time he was back. That first season with us, like the fact that he scored against the Sounders, and it's like he's like, I'm here to do a job, I'm here to score. I won't celebrate, which respect, but I liked Freddie. He was another guy that had a lot of time he was happy to sit and chat and just he did it on the pitch and things could have worked out so different. I like talking about things could have worked so different. I was just thinking there, I was just double checking. So Sinvezo left at the end of 2013. Pedro Morales came in 2014. Can you imagine that Whitecaps team with Pedro and Sinvezo?
yeah.
Oh,
I'm just looking at the list here again, real quick. There's two other people I want to mention. Where there? Yeah, there's two. So yeah, the thing for me with the Colombian, aside from my general like not psyched about him being a Whitecap back then, was to me he was opposite. Like
ah.
I tried to connect with him, like in
But
whatever.
see, you weren't talking about coffee like I was.
Yeah, but no, well, whatever. Yeah, you and I will talk about more. I'll remind you some stuff later.
No,
But
I know, I remember.
yeah,
I'm being facetious.
no. But two other people. Sorry, I just want to mention from the list. One was actually Mauro Rosales, who was actually the exact
Yeah,
opposite.
actually, he'd be up there in amongst my top five faves, I think, as well. Because again, a guy, you could just sit and chat to him about football.
Totally, a former flounder. But again, when I said, "Hey, can we talk about this?" He was like, "Yeah, no worry." Like, and so Matt had tea or coffee or whatever, and I found a picture from it the other day when I was going through
Ah.
some old pictures of me and Mauro downtown. But and he was totally understanding, totally respectful, but he also was just like, "Look, know that I'm giving my all
Mhm. And he did.
for the Whitecaps." Totally. The last person I want to mention, and he's maybe of this list, Michael. You correct me if I'm wrong. But when I look at this list, and you look at their time at the Whitecaps, and you look at what they did since they left the Whitecaps, is Hwang Hin-bom.
Mm,
He is a guy who has gone on to higher and higher heights, and
yeah.
he's one of the one guy who I think he was good or solid or respectable in Vancouver, but again, maybe not. Didn't he was under MDS, right?
Yeah, I don't think the style that Mark played suited him. I
Yeah,
also don't think the way that the league plays
yeah.
suited him either. Like there was
Because
no denying the talent, and you've seen it since he's moved on.
yeah,
He wasn't a good fit.
no, and
He wasn't a good fit for
he's gone
MLS.
into much bigger, much better things, and we've even I think he's playing on Cascadia FC right now in the Bundesliga
Ah,
for Kirk and I. So yeah, he's the last one I wanted to mention from the list.
well, let us know your thoughts. It's like, who are your favourite DPs that the Whitecaps have had? Who do you feel are the best? Do you disagree? Any worst ones that you would put in there that we haven't had? Love to hear your thoughts. Let us know as well any just general MLS DPs that you feel have kind of maybe been worse than Insigne or Bernardeschi. But we'll continue the football chat shortly. We'll be bringing you some interviews in the next part, 3 to be exact. Jayden Nelson, Antoine Coupland, and Nelson Pierre. We'll be back with that after the first of 2 Britpop songs for this episode.
Hi, I'm Nelson Pierre, and welcome to the AFTN Soccer Show.
Welcome back to the AFTN Soccer Show on CITR Radio 101.9 FM. And kicking off this part is the first of 2 Britpop songs in this episode as we continue to pay tribute to 30 years of Britpop. And the song kicking off this part is an all-time Britpop classic. I spoke a couple of weeks ago about if you're picking the top 3 songs that kind of really capture the mood, the spirit, the sound of the Britpop era, I played Pulp's Common People. I said Park Life by Blur was right up there. Some Might Say by Oasis as well. And I would put this one just outside the top 3. Supergrass, a band we've played a couple of times before in this segment, and that was their 5th single, taken from their debut album I Should Coco, a true Britpop anthem released as a double A-side along with the song Time. It was released on July 3rd, 1995, charting this week 30 years ago and peaking at number 2 in the UK charts. It was their biggest selling song, went platinum in the UK. That was Supergrass with All Right, and definitely one of the songs of the Britpop era. And we'll get back to the football chat now, and despite the horrendous game against San Diego, despite the horrible, actual worst performance against LA Galaxy, I do think everything is going to be all right for the Whitecaps in the second half of the season. They're going to be back to full strength now, aside from the injuries. I mean, the Ryan Gauld thing is continuing to drag on. There's probably going to be some new additions to the team as well once the transfer window opens on July 24th. Sebastian Berhalter and Brian White now back from Gold Cup duty with the US. We'll talk about the Gold Cup final in the next part. Jayden Nelson returned, sadly, earlier than anyone expected, but considering the injuries to Sam Adekugbe and Ali Ahmed while away with Canada, it was just great to get Jayden back unscathed, although he clearly had a frustrating week, and I think those frustrations probably boiled over on Friday night in Carson, California, with that red card as we talked about in the first part. It's just, not what you wanted from the guy that was coming back. And it's like, okay, we're getting some guys back. He's going to be such a key player. And you saw it at the start of the second half of the danger he can be when he came on. But putting all of that aside, it is great to have Jayden back with the team. It will mean he'll likely play the full 90 as a Canadian as well in that game against Valour on Wednesday evening in the Canadian Championship quarterfinal second leg. So when Jayden was back at training this week, myself and Har got a chance to ask Jayden just about his whole Canadian experience at the Gold Cup and what he can take from it. So Jayden, you're back sooner than I think everyone hoped you were going to be back. Just talk about the experience, first of all, being away with Canada. I know it hasn't ended the way that anyone wanted, but getting back into the camp, getting the minutes, what's that been like for you?
Yeah, it was good to get back into camp and play under a new coach and a new system. It was a good experience, and yeah, I'm grateful for it. But yeah, all in all, it was one of the tournaments that we need to forget quickly because there's the big, there's the World Cup coming up, and we need to look forward to that. And you can't make this stain our year. So yeah, it was unlucky or disappointing to get out against Guatemala, and yeah, we're just looking forward now.
We don't want to forget right away because it was just the other day. You weren't playing a lot. You didn't get a lot of minutes. Why was that? How do you feel about that?
I'm not the coach, It's the coach's decision. I can only do what I only can control what I can control, and yeah, I was just happy to get into camp and to know how we play and to get familiar with it. So when I get into the future camps, I'm able to fit right in. So
what would you say your role is? Have you really had an imprint? Do you think you made a positive impression with the staff there?
I hope so. I think in the first couple of games I played well. The games in Toronto, it was tough conditions in the Gold Cup with playing at Houston in the heat and all of that. But you just have to move forward and continue. So
we saw your coach and we saw on the sidelines a lot of emotions. Some say that Canada didn't do enough of a good job controlling the emotions in this tournament. What's your thought, and how do you do that going into the major tournament next year?
For me, we controlled it fine. That's how we play. That's how we always been. It's more the football. That's where we fell short on, and that's where we need to do better in the little game management and things like that, and that's why we lost. I don't think it was the emotions. I think we handled that fine.
I mean, it's nice to see that you're actually back healthy, considering what happened to Sam and Ali. It was a very physical games and tournament. How did you find that? Do you enjoy those kind of games?
To be honest, national team games are always like that. It's game by game, and you have to give your all in every single game. And it gets gritty sometimes, but we have to be up for the challenge, unless you'll just lose. So we have to be there to compete, and if it's a physical game, then we have to match it.
Back now with the Whitecaps, it's back in domestic league business. Did you get a chance to watch the Caps games when you were away?
Yeah, of course. I was always tapped in. This is my squad, so.
And I wear it for my lady, the Canadian flag, baby.
Jayden Nelson there, just talking about his Gold Cup experience, and I'm with him. I think you just need to put that tournament to bed, just forget about it, take the positives out of it, and there were some, and then build on that now in the windows to come. Obviously, no more competitive games coming up, just friendlies, or even if you create another tournament, however that plays out. But hopefully Jayden showed Jesse Marsh that he can be a valuable asset to the Canadian national team. I don't think he showed his best in these games when he was away with Canada. So I think what he needs to do now that he is back at the Whitecaps is just be the best Jayden Nelson that he can for the rest of the MLS season. Make Jayden Nelson kind of indispensable for Jesse Marsh's side, and then we'll just see where that takes him in 2026. Of course, while he was away, another Nelson signed for the Whitecaps. 6'1" American striker Nelson Pierre, the 20-year-old homegrown that came through the Philadelphia season, signed a first-team deal with the Whitecaps. The Whitecaps given Philly $50,000 for his MLS rights, was on the bench against LAFC a week or so ago, and then got his first MLS minutes, his MLS debut in the game against LA Galaxy on Friday night. Got on for the last 11 minutes and stoppage time, and almost got on the end of a cross that was coming in to get his first goal and to build upon the fantastic 2025 that he's had so far. For those of you that maybe didn't listen to the last episode, we spoke with Nelson back in episode 663 of the AFTN Soccer Show at the end of March, so dig that out, have a listen to his story, how he came to Vancouver, his coming through the ranks in Philadelphia. But I wanted to catch up with Nelson at training this week after signing that deal. And we obviously spoke to him before he made his MLS debut. But here's what Nelson had to tell me about becoming a first-team Whitecap. Nelson, first of all, congratulations, getting the contract well deserved after the season you've had. When we spoke a few weeks back now, you were, like, we didn't know at that point, could you even get the call-ups? And then it turned out that you couldn't. But just talk about the season that you've had so far here in Vancouver.
Yeah, I think this season, it's been the best season of my career so far. I think with the city and the group, it's such an amazing city and such an amazing group, it's so easy to succeed. So right now, getting into the new group, it's just about gaining their trust and getting better day by day.
When did you find out that you were going to get the first team deal?
We played on Saturday, I think it was, in LA or Sunday, I believe, and it was literally 24 hours before. They called me into the office and said, hey, we want to buy your rights from Philly, and then from there, they made it happen.
Right, and obviously you were delighted by that. Who was the first person you told?
The first person I called my dad immediately and told him the news. I told him I'm going to be living in Vancouver for a little bit, but he was super excited and really happy to see where my journey goes from here.
And Philly are coming here in September. That's going to be a special game for you, I imagine.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, my biggest thing is hopefully just getting better, making an impact. But if God wills it, hopefully seeing my brother on the field too would be amazing. So whatever happens, happens, yeah.
For folk that haven't seen you play, what is your striker style? Like, what are you going to bring to this team?
I think looking back on my season, I'd say poacher. I mean, I talk with the guys a lot about it. The goals I score, somehow the ball bounces around and finds me. So just finding space in the box and being at the right place at the right time.
How have you found Vancouver? It is very different to Philly. Not that I've been to Philly, but from what I've seen of Philly, it feels it's very different here.
Yeah. I think it's much more relaxed. It allows you to really get into your mentality and what you want to do and who you want to be. And for me, it's really allowed me to express myself and become the best version of Nelson. And,
like, have you managed to get out, do sightseeing? Like, what's your favourite kind of spots that you've discovered so far?
I have gone out. My girlfriend's forcing me to go out a lot. But Kitts Beach, the Suspension Bridge, English Bay Beach. I go out to all the beaches. We explore a lot.
Oh, nice. So I was going to ask if your girlfriend's here. So she's here with you for the whole time? Or
No, she came for about 3 weeks, and then we tried to do as much as we could while she's here. But she's in university in Philadelphia, so we're doing long distance.
Right.
Yeah.
So, that's how my relationship started. And I've been married for over 20 years, so it can work. So you were on the bench on Sunday. When you get your opportunity to get the start, what is that going to mean to you for the journey that you've had, coming through as a homegrown in Philly, then coming out here, you've had time away at other clubs, to get on the pitch, first team for Whitecaps, what will that mean to you?
It'd mean the world, honestly. It's been 20 years in the making to make an MLS debut, so right now it's just getting on the field, making my debut, and just getting better each day. That's the biggest thing.
Is there a tinge of disappointment that you never made the breakthrough at Philly, or do things happen for a reason and you're just happy?
No, I would say my time at Philly was a dream. Hometown kid going to play for his hometown club, it was a dream come true. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to get my debut, but hopefully my brother can do that. I'm still connected to the club now, so right now, what I'm thinking back on is all amazing things. I met such amazing people there.
And last thing, just the season you've had in MLS Next Pro with WFC2, I mean, you've been on a goal-scoring tear. How have you found that transition to playing in that league, and what's it been like with the team playing under a guy like Rico, who's done it at the top level for America, been at a World Cup, having a striker as a coach. What's that been like for you?
It's been amazing. Rico's helped me so much. The group's helped me so much. They've allowed me to express myself and really take a leadership role in that group, and I think that's helped my game a lot, understanding where to be, where my teammates want to play the ball, things like that. But Rico's been an amazing coach, the group's amazing, and honestly, I'm just hoping that I can keep improving every day.
Nelson Pierre there, and a standout in MLS Next Pro for Whitecaps 2 this year. He leads MLS Next Pro, not just the Whitecaps, not just in the Western Conference, but across the whole league on 11 goals from his 14 games played so far. He also leads the league in shots, 51, shots on goal, 24. And although he's going to be obviously on the bench, maybe get the odd start here and there for a number of games for the Whitecaps now moving forward at first team level, I still think he will get minutes in Whitecaps 2, and it's important that he does to continue that development. They've got some midweek games. They've got some games where it's double headers, where, for example, in San Jose they play on the Saturday, and then Whitecaps 2 play on the Sunday. So I think we will still see him get those minutes, and it's going to be important to show that he has the right mental attitude for when he's back in that team. As you heard there, I think he very much is going to have, very mature, knows what he needs to do. I like him describing himself as a poacher. We'll speak to Jesper about that in a couple of minutes as well. But yeah, wish him all the very best for this rest of the season to come for both the teams. And I think it's a good addition. And obviously with Damir Kreilach moving on, it opened up that roster spot for a forward, and it's now Nelson's chance to go and seize that moment. We've seen some do it, we've seen some not. I just think the kind of game that he's got, the mindset that he's got, we will see Nelson Pierre do that. So another WFC2 player that has done very well this year and got a call up to the first team, and not only got some minutes, but also got his very first MLS goal as well, was 21-year-old Canadian Antoine Coupland. And it was great to see him get those opportunities, get that goal, as we spoke about in the last episode. He's had such a tough time of it with injury. It's really derailed him with Whitecaps 2 and trying to make the jump to the first team. We chatted to him all the way back in April 2023 in episode 557. Highly recommend you dig that out if you don't remember it or you want to get more acquainted with Antoine. We had a fantastic 15-minute chat just about his career, his journey to Vancouver. In brief, he made his pro debut at 15 years old with Ottawa Fury back in the USL days. He's played in the CPL and now he's here in Vancouver. Tough time with injuries as we spoke about, but I got a chance to catch up with Antoine this week at Whitecaps training just to talk about what the last couple of years has been like for him, both on and off the pitch, getting that first team opportunity and of course grabbing his first ever MLS goal against San Diego. Here's Antoine Coupland. So, Antoine, it's been a couple of years since we spoke, and a lot's happened in those 2 years on and off the pitch. Just talk about what the last couple of years has been like for you, because I know there's been the injuries. You've been doing well when you've been on the pitch, but obviously the injuries derailed quite a lot for you.
Yeah. My first year with WFC2, I think I did really well. I had opportunities with the first team as well, just to train with them and kind of integrate the group. And then the second year, as you know, I had a big injury, and it was kind of like on and off. We didn't really know what was going on. The medical staff really did their best and try to heal it naturally. But eventually, the only thing that we could resort to was surgery. So I did get surgery in this past off season in November. I think it was November 18th. and the rehab was supposed to be around 3 months, ended up being around 5 or 6 months. But I did work really hard with the medical staff from the second team, from the first team, and they had some sort of like big program for me to get me back fit. Once I was on the field, like running like crazy. I was here from, I think, 9 to 3, even 4 sometimes, just working 3 times as hard as all the other players. So that was kind of like a big setback for me in my time at the Whitecaps, but it was only for a greater comeback. And once I'm on the field and once I'm healthy, I know I can bring, whether it's to the second team, to the first team. I'm confident in my abilities, and I think I showed that through the last couple of games with WFC2 with constant performances, the assist, the goal, and then it was rewarded obviously with the first team opportunities. And I think with the few minutes that I did have, I think I did take my chance, which led to having a second game against LAFC, and I think that really showed that I can play in the MLS.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I forget how young you still are, because obviously we've seen you play since you were 15 and breaking through out in Ottawa. But a young guy, like, away from home, away from family, when we last spoke, you said how much you were loving life in Vancouver, but how difficult was that when you're injured, when you're just so far away from home and your kind of support system?
Yeah, it was really, really hard. My parents came to visit me a few times, but honestly, when you're kind of alone through it, you kind of get in some like really negative thoughts, and at some points I was like, oh my gosh, am I ever going to play soccer again? Like, am I going to find my feet once I get back on the field? I was honestly considering maybe going back to school and just doing school and, you know, calling it quits. But within the last couple of weeks, my mindset has really changed. I also work with psychologists from the club, psychologists from outside the club, who really helped me through that. And now with the last couple of weeks, I think that just the confidence that I've been overcome with has been crazy, and now I'm kind of back on the right track.
When you got the call up for the Seattle game, was delighted by that, and I thought, oh, all the young guys are going to get minutes. I mean, as it worked out, it's probably good that you didn't get on in that game, because you're only allowed to play the 2 MLS games. So you came on late against San Diego, the game's basically gone, but you got your first goal. I felt so bad for you because it was such a big moment for you, and you wanted to celebrate, but you know it's a 5-3 game and it's the dying minutes. But just talk about what that whole occasion was like, and when you were told you were going on, what was going through your head?
Yeah, I mean, first off, back to your point, I think that everything happens for a reason. You know, even the injury, there's a reason why the injury happened. I think I'm a player who's a lot better suited for Jesper's system. I think he likes young, technical players who kind of work really hard, and you know, who can be creative, and kind of like for example, like a Pedro, like who's really technical and can do his thing. So I think everything does happen for a reason. Maybe I wouldn't have had those opportunities last year under a different system with Vanny, who kind of is more straightforward, likes longer balls, and kind of like a Nick Chateau type of profile player. So yeah, just to touch on that. But yeah, I think like you said, like maybe it was a good thing that I didn't get into the Seattle game and that I got my chance against San Diego. But that was a really big moment for me, for my family. I'm really proud the perseverance that I had to overcome, and all the setbacks and all of the things, that the highs, the lows. But yeah, it was a bittersweet moment because obviously the team lost, but I was really excited to get my first goal. It was kind of like a blackout moment. I didn't really hear the crowd. I didn't really see the ball go in. I just ran straight back to half, and I kind of knew the game was over at that point, but I was hoping that there would maybe be another 1 or 2, maybe even 3 minutes to kind of put some pressure and maybe get a fourth one and kind of make the game interesting. But at that point, the ref whistled the game. So obviously I was disappointed with the loss, but very happy with the goal.
Yeah, I was going to speak to you right after that. I thought this probably isn't the best day to do it with how the result went. But then you got your second chance to play down in a great stadium, a great atmosphere against a good team. When we last spoke, you talked about you believe your motto's always been like earn your opportunities. They're not given to you. You've done it, and you've got this now. You've played in these 2 games. You can still, we were just checking, you can still play in a Canadian Championship game. So that might come against Valor. Who knows what's down the line? But what's your mindset now going into the latter half of the season, knowing you can't play in an MLS game unless you get the contract?
Yeah, I think it's just focusing on what I have to do with the MLS Next Pro, and that's continuing to contribute to the team's success, whether it's with goals, with assists, with pressing, with defending, however it may be, just continue to dominate at that level. And I think things, as they have been, will fall into place.
Last thing, you see a guy like Nelson just getting his deal, and all the other call-ups throughout the years. And when you were first here, there was like Ali and Simon and Nico got all this. Yeah. So you know you're at a club that is going to reward this. Yeah. What does that mean for you, knowing if you keep doing as you're doing, you're going to get the chance?
Yeah, well, first of all, I'm really happy for Nelson. I mean, he deserves it. He's a top player, top guy as well. He scored a lot of goals in MLS Next Pro, so I'm honestly really happy for him. I think he completely deserves, and I hope he does, because I don't think he does have his MLS debut, so I hope he gets it pretty soon, and is able to make the best out of whatever opportunities is given to him. But I think this club has been really good at kind of developing players and moving them on as well. So I think there's a clear pathway there. I think I just have to keep doing my thing, keep working hard, keep staying humble, keep my head down, and I think, like I said, things will fall into play, and eventually I am confident that I will earn my place in the first team.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Delighted for you, and good luck for the rest of the year.
Thank you.
Great stuff from Antoine Coupland there, and I always love chatting with Antoine. He's such a great guy to speak to. He's a lover of the game, connoisseur of the game, lives and breathes the game, and very thoughtful whenever you speak to him, whenever you do an interview with him. Thoughtful answers, long answers, expansive answers, and that's what you want when you're doing an interview. And I do think he's got a very bright future ahead of him. He's played for Canada all the way up to under 20 level. And it was also great to hear him speak about there how well the Whitecaps looked after him during those dark times with the injury. Because as we spoke about there, he's a long way away from home. He's a player that's family's on the other side of the country. He's young. You don't know what's going to happen to your career, and you do second guess yourself. Will I make it as a pro? Should I go and get an education in case something like this happens? But the fact that the Whitecaps initially wanted to try and let it heal just naturally before you have to kind of go down the operation route. And remember, they keep saying for Ryan Gauld, it's not something that needs an operation, it's just something that needs time to get better. Hopefully he doesn't end up going down that road if it just doesn't start to get better, but we won't speculate on that. But the Whitecaps looked after Antoine. He's spoken to psychologists. It's really helped him. And I don't think we fully appreciate the pressure that is on so many of these young players. For many of them, they've given their whole life from 4, 5, 6 years old to play football, to try and make it, to go through the academies, to turn pro, to make it at the top of the game. And these are guys that most of them, they're never going to make all the millions that you see the guys on TV and playing for their national teams make. And sometimes when you get an early injury, it can totally derail your career. But Antoine's bounced back in style. He's having a great season for WFC2, and he has made his 2 MLS appearances now. I do wish that you were allowed to make more than just the 2 appearances. You're allowed the 4 MLS call-ups, unlimited call-ups for things like the Canadian Championship, US Open Cup down in the States, Leagues Cup, if the team's in that as well, friendlies. So that has been a change. They are now unlimited. Would not be surprised at all to see Antoine feature in the squad against Valor, getting on the pitch, maybe even getting the start in that one. And I think that would be a great opportunity to have his 3rd appearance. But now he just has to go back to WFC2. I don't see him getting an MLS deal this year. I could see him getting it in the off-season going into next year if he shows well for the rest of the MLS Next Pro season. And that's clearly what Jesper's going to want to see from him. And I actually got a chance to chat to Jesper about just that, just to speak about what he's seen from Antoine Coupland, also to speak about what he's seen from Nelson Pierre, why he gave him the first team contract, and what he's expecting from both of those guys from the rest of the year. Here's the gaffer. Talking of call-ups, Antoine Coupland's had his 2 appearances now. Yeah. What are you looking to see from him for the rest of the year with WFC2?
Of course, I would like him to see keep progressing, because we saw him coming off his injury and he's been injured for a while. And now he looks stronger. Now he looks to be able to play 90 minutes. He looks to be able to also affect the games at the MLS Next games. So I think that that's of course what we want to see. And then in the training sessions with us, that he can affect the training sessions. He can keep progressing, keep learning, how to play into the way we want to play. Because we saw in the games that he's not shy, he's not hiding, he is taking the opportunities he gets, and I think he played very optimistically, and also, also a player that seemed very trustable in regards to how we want to defend and stuff.
One new addition you have on the squad is Nelson Pierre.
Yeah.
He's had a fantastic season with the twos, leading the league in scoring. What did you see from him outside of the goal scoring that made you feel this was the time to give him the MLS deal?
No, I think some of the things you have to, first of all, there has to be open spots. And there is. He's done well since he came. You can't ask for more for a guy coming in. He has been scoring a lot of goals. He's a striker, and he always ends up in the box and is dangerous in there. Really, very quick to make his decisions, and is always opportunistic in the box, and also has good finishes. Of course, he needs some relations to be built in regards to playing for us, because we don't play an individual style, we play more relational style, so that's very important that he gets that in, and that's what we try to work on in training sessions.
He described himself as a poacher, which is quite it's kind of an old-fashioned thing really in the modern game. You don't get a lot of poachers, but Brian White is also kind of that poacher kind of guy, 6-yard box, getting the loose balls. Do you feel they can really complement each other?
That's what we have to see, right? Nelson is physically, very athletic. He is very fast and should be a threat to the backspace most of the time. Whereas Brian, he's also willing and capable runner deep, but also he's very good at the hold-up and link-up play. So I think that's some of the things he has to add to his game. Maybe they can play together, hopefully. You can always play players together. It's just about how the outcome is going to be.
Jesper Sorensen there just talking Nelson Pierre, Antoine Coupland, what he's seen from them, what he's still hoping to see from them as the rest of the year plays out. And I do get why MLS limit the call-ups to 4 for MLS games and just 2 appearances. It's to stop the big teams, the Miamis, the LAFC, kind of circumnavigating the MLS roster rules and just stacking their second team with all this talent that they can then call up when needed. So that does make sense. But for a club like Vancouver, for players like Antoine, I mean, it is frustrating. But we've seen the call-ups this year. We've seen the guys get on. Johnny Selemani's got on. Jackson Castro's got on. And we'll see how many others maybe make the breakthrough as the rest of the year goes on. Whitecaps, too, this year do have a very good team. A little bit slow to get off the starting grid. They had players that were kind of in and out the team because of first team duty. They've had a lot of call-ups from the academy as well. But they're back in action. If you want to get out and see them, you can watch them in the next 2 games on Apple TV. They're back in action on July 23rd away to Colorado Rapids 2 in a big game, as the Rapids sit just 2 points ahead of them right now in the Western Conference standings. Then they're away to Houston Dynamo's second team 4 days later. But then you can get out to Swangard, 2 home games coming up against Sporting Kansas City on Thursday, July 31st, and St. Louis 2 on Wednesday, August 6th. Both 6 o'clock kickoffs. Beautiful summer night football. Get along to Swangard and watch some of these talents on the pitch for WFC2, because you can be sure the way that this pathway exists now, you are going to see them make the breakthrough in the first team for a number of these guys. Whitecaps 2 currently sit 5th in the MLS Next Pro Western Conference standings. They're on 24 points, 6 wins, 3 of them by shootout, 3 draws and 7 defeats from their 16 games so far. They're 8 points behind St. Louis City 2, who also have a game in hand on the Whitecaps. They've got 4 wins in their last 5 games. The only game they lost was to a last-minute goal against Real Monarchs. They're sitting second in the Pacific Division, 6 points behind leaders Ventura County, who they just beat 2-1 on Thursday, thanks to a pair of goals from Ray and Illumi. And aside from Nelson Pierre, leading the scoring across the league, leading in shots, leading in shots on target, his WFC teammates are also excelling. Jackson Castro, who got his first MLS minutes on Friday, second in the league with 6 assists, 1 behind the leader. Ray and Illumi, his 2 goals last week against Ventura County takes him to 5 for the season, 3 assists as well. And centre-back Mark O'Neill, who I'm very high on, he's had his call-ups to the Whitecaps first team, hasn't got on the pitch, and he's had his 4 call-ups now, but he's played every minute of every game so far, and I really like what I've seen from him. He's a good leader. We'll hopefully catch up with him soon for a chat on the podcast. But yeah, July 31st, it's the next time you can see Whitecaps 2 in person. Get along to Swangard and do just that. That is it for the Whitecaps chat for this show. We've got one more part to come. We're going to be talking the Gold Cup final. We're going to be talking Club World Cup. And we're going to talk about the only game in the CPL this weekend that featured Vancouver FC. And we'll be back with all of that after the second of our Britpop songs this episode.
Hi, I'm Antoine Coupland, and you're listening to the AFTN Soccer Show.
Cause you gotta let it out if you wanna let it in. You gotta let a little bit of loving in and make it all begin. You gotta find time, pick the right time and make a change. Cause it's a fine time to pick the right time and make a change. So when you're gonna learn that it takes all sorts, don't you think that life would be a little drab if we had the same thoughts? Cause you're taking all the good, but you're leaving with the bad. And if you don't make a change pretty soon, there won't be nothing coming back. You gotta find time, the right time, and make a change. Cause it's a fine time, the right time, and make a change. I do believe you read the verse. I do believe you wrote the words. To let you out, to let you in again. I just need to feel the love again and again.
Welcome back to the AFTN Soccer Show on CITR Radio 101.9 FM. And kicking off this part, it's the second of our Britpop songs for this episode from Liverpool band Cast. That was their debut single called Fine Time, released on July 3rd, 1995, and charting this week 30 years ago. And the band Cast formed after John Powers left the Laz, them of There She Goes fame. That song peaked at number 14 in the UK charts, and it was kind of fitting to play that in this episode, Zach, for a couple of reasons. One, the band were one of the 2 supports in the UK for Oasis's comeback tour. Cage the Elephant is the only support over here in North America, but in the UK there's Richard Ashcroft from The Verve doing a solo slot, and the opening band is Cast. So Oasis played their first comeback gig in Cardiff on Friday. So Cast were the first band on stage, 30-minute set, all their big hits. They're a great band. Their first 2 albums are excellent, their first one in particular. But at the concert, Zach, Cast, being from Liverpool, dedicated their song Walk Away to Diogo Jota, and Oasis then dedicated Live Forever to Jota as well.
Saw that.
Backdrop of his jersey. I mean, very moving, as have all the tributes been this week. And I haven't watched anything from the funeral, partly because I feel it's a private thing, and they've
It's a
kind of turned it.
really small service.
Yeah, they've turned it into a big spectacle because of all the footballers that's there, and it's a shame in a way. And I think it's just a
Isn't
sad.
that why Ronaldo said he didn't go? Because he's like, this needs to be just the family, and if I go, then more
Yeah,
eyeballs will.
yeah, it comes into a circus, which it
Yeah,
was already. But I mean, we'll talk a little bit about that just to kick off this part. When I saw the headline, I was like, "What?" And the headline I saw had said something about Diogo Jota's car was overtaking another car when it crashed. And I was like, oh, he's been in a car crash. Because that headline hadn't indicated that he died, and I hadn't seen anything else by that point. And then when I clicked into it, I was like, I can't believe it.
yeah,
And then when you hear the story and everything that happened, and I've seen the wreckage, which is just like
yeah.
horrifying. But again, we talk about death a lot on the show, not as much as Caitlin does in her podcast,
No,
but
dose of
comes at it
wonder.
from a different, yeah, from a different thing. Which, if anyone
Check.
wants to hear
Yeah,
about grief and dealing with it and stuff, my wife's Dose of Wonder podcast and blog, check that out. And if you can't find it, get in touch, and I'll let you know. But this is another example of just how fleeting life is, how short it can be, and things can just get taken away from you in a minute. But when you
yeah,
look at the last couple of weeks he's won the Premier title with Liverpool, he's won the Nations League with Portugal, he just got married, and then a month down the line, his life's over.
yeah. It's so tragic. Yeah, you just feel for his wife, his kids,
Oh, yeah.
his family. Obviously,
Childhood
the family.
sweetheart as well. It's like,
Yeah, and to lose like obviously two sons, like yeah,
yeah, because his brother as well, who, I mean, because he's not a high profile name, it's like he gets forgotten in all of this.
yeah,
But yeah, for the parents, two sons taken. And like on the field, he was such a great player. And then just hearing teammates talk about it and stories, he just seems like a genuine guy, an honest, hard-working, genuine guy off the pitch. I know he was driving or we don't know who was driving, but he was in a Lamborghini. And there's trappings and stuff that come with being a footballer. But he wasn't one of those flashy guys. He wasn't somebody that you had tabloid headlines about cheating on his wife or partner or being involved in horrible stories or whatever. He just seems a nice family man, had time for fans and everything off the pitch, great player on it. It's just tragic.
yeah. So sad.
And we've seen a lot of tributes and celebrations in
Yes,
various games before it, minute silences, tributes with goals scored, and obviously no easy way to transition back to the on-pitch stuff. But we'll talk Gold Cup final in this part, because when Martinez scored for Mexico
yeah.
in their 2-1 victory over the US,
The video game celebration.
video game celebration, holding up a Mexico jersey
Yeah,
with Jota's name and number on it. I mean, very moving. And I mean, the game itself, a fairly enjoyable final. I was torn because everything that goes with Mexico and their fans off the pitch, didn't really want them to win, but at the same time didn't want the US to win. But it would have been nice for Sebastian Berhalter and Brian White to get a winner's medal. So I was kind of torn, but I think probably happy that Mexico won.
I wasn't planning on watching it. I've watched the highlights because, like we said on the last episode, that's when the Gold Cup ended.
Yeah, didn't really care, but I was like, sell out over 70,000 fans. So you knew it was going to be a great atmosphere. When I saw that Berhalter was starting, I was like, I'll stick it on. Hoped that Brian White was going to get at least some minutes. I didn't think he'd start, obviously, because he hasn't been starting in the tournament. Didn't even get on the pitch. And you look back at his tournament,
Which is crazy when you're down a goal and you need a goal.
Yeah.
Brian White's the exact kind of guy you want to bring on.
He played 9 minutes, 9 official minutes, because some stoppage time as well, but 9 official minutes for the guy that was going into this tournament. Folk were saying he's the in-form American striker, not just in MLS, but in the world.
Yeah.
He had not a good outing against Switzerland, And that seems to have been what's forced Pochettino to drop him down the pecking order.
It's just crazy. Like, what more can the guy do to make him put himself in the window for 2026, right? Like,
Yeah.
if what he's done so far isn't good enough, it's like, yeah.
Yeah, I can't see him making the squad now. Hope I'm wrong.
Yeah.
But Sebastian Berhalter, on the other hand, for this tournament at least, cemented himself as a starter. Once the bigger names are back, I guess we'll see in the camps that are coming up whether he's still a starter. I think he's going to be involved in the squad.
Yeah.
And I Googled his name. I was curious what the American fans were making of him. Because the games that I've seen, and we talked about this in the last show, I thought he's done excellent.
Mm-hmm.
The American fans are very divided. They either think he's been great, like his set-piece deliveries, or they hate him, and they don't think he should be anywhere near the squad. And I can't help but think a big chunk of that is because of who his dad is.
Oh, totally.
It's unfair for him. They're all calling him a Nepo baby. That's the only reason that he's in. And it's like, you've not been watching Whitecaps games, clearly.
Yeah.
Been voted in the All-Star game
Yeah.
by fans from across the league. And he has been one of the key players for the Whitecaps this year.
The Nepo baby tag in sports only works or only really carries the weight it's meant to if the person is like underperforming.
Yeah.
And usually
he's earned this. He's deserved
underperforming
this call-up.
underperforming on like a consistent basis where, yeah, he's totally earned his call-up. And I think he showed in this tournament that he has significant contributions to make.
Well, the US goal, it's his free kick.
Yep.
Gets headed in. I'm not 100% convinced it even went over the line, I've got to say.
No, it did.
Did it?
Yeah. Former Bayern Munich man, Chris Richards, with his big hair.
I only, because I had it on, so I only watched the goal and one replay that didn't really show anything, so I didn't analyze it to see, but my initial thought was, I don't know that it has.
It was very, very fully across the line. When it hit the bar, when it bounces fully in the net.
Okay, that's fine then. Because again, no watch technology, which they have in the Club World Cup. You're laughing at that because we're going to talk about that next. But I'm glad Mexico won, I guess, but I do feel for Seba not getting the winner's medal and for Brian for not getting more minutes. But thankfully, we're getting them back unscathed. Can't say the same thing about our Canadians that went away. And hopefully Brian comes back eager to show what he can do because we've missed him here. Let's get into the Club World Cup chat briefly now as well because the quarterfinals were played. Semis coming up this week.
That also ended this weekend.
Yes. It was some great quarterfinals.
Mm-hmm.
I was hoping for more South American teams to make the semis. I said in an earlier show, I don't think it's great for the competition if it was going to be like 4 European teams that got into the quarterfinals. So it's not quite that, but it's nearly that.
Yeah, 1 out of 4 in the semis.
Yeah. But not your team.
Yeah.
That was a fantastic game. Entertainment-wise.
Yeah.
Result-wise, I understand no. And I equally understand your feelings on the Musiala tackle and was it leg break or ankle break?
Fibula. I think his fibula is broken. I don't know if his ankle's also broken. Bayern hasn't made an official statement other than that he was on a plane back to Munich to have his surgeries done in Munich.
Well, yeah, don't maybe in the American healthcare system it costs you knows how much money.
If you haven't seen this play, I'd be surprised because it was all over social media. But the game was great. Like the game was really good. Like both teams were really going for it. The pressing of both teams created significant opportunities. But right before halftime, like the less than a minute before the time added on in the first half was to expire, Bayern's making an attack down their right wing. Michael Elise plays forward a ball, which I believe is intended for Sacha Boey, and Sacha Boey is a player who I hope is not at Bayern Munich for much longer. But Bowie does not make the run. But Pacho, the center back for PSG, follows the ball, and Musiala makes a run for the ball. Now, Musiala is kind of in the inside channel. Pacho is between him and the ball, right? Like the defender is either going to see the ball into touch and win a goal kick, or if Musiala is going to try and make a play, he's going to block him out, have possession, and make a play. And so this is like, oh man, it's inside the box, but it's like near the touchline, like a few yards from the touchline. It's almost equal distance from the touchline that it is to the end line. And Donnarumma comes to play the ball. And as he plays the ball, he goes through Musiala, who Musiala is trying to keep the ball in play. He totally just takes out Musiala and collects the ball. And in the process, breaks Musiala's leg.
And the commentators right away when they saw the replay were like, yeah. look at his ankle.
Well, as soon as I saw the replay, I was like, I woke up, my wife was still sleeping because it was a 9 o'clock kickoff. She's like, why did you wake me up? I was like, because Moose got his leg broken. And to me,
which is heartbreaking because he has just come back from a serious injury as well.
Yeah. This is the only game I think he started, or maybe he started the Flamingo game too, but he started one of the game, had to come off, I think. Anyways, but he's like the best player at Bayern Munich, and now he's going to be out for a minimum 4 to 5 months, but probably longer would be my guess. We'll wait for the official diagnosis. But here's the thing. To me, number one, and I don't understand how this is not done, and we'll talk about maybe some of the, not reasons, but some of the issues you could, that I feel around it, is to me, it's a penalty kick.
Yeah, see, this is where we disagree. I think it was a challenge that didn't need to be made, but I don't think it was a foul. I don't think it was a penalty.
It's absolutely a foul to me, Michael. Absolutely. He goes through the
You
player.
are a Bayern fan. I'm a neutral watching this, and I'm like, he gets the... It's this thing again. I think we need to get a clarification from one of our refs that listen to this of the rules, because we've spoken about this before. I know getting the ball doesn't mean that it's not a red card or a foul or a penalty if you take the man out because of the tackle. But I don't think there was enough in that for a penalty. I think it's just Musiala, he's just coming in at force, and because of the way the keepers come out so fast, it's the pace of it that's led to the break more than anything. I genuinely don't see it as a foul, but I know there's a lot of people that do.
Yeah, it's a foul. He goes through Musiala to get the ball. Essentially, he wins the ball for sure. Does he win the ball? Absolutely, he wins the ball. But he goes through a player in the box to win the ball. Even 1859 plus 1 supporter Manu Veth says that this should have been a penalty. Like, I know you'd say he's German.
Well, with like 3 or 4.
Okay, but here's the thing, Michael. This is the same referee who literally one year on the exact same day 1 year ago chose not to give Germany a penalty against Spain when Cucurella clearly handled the ball, and on that day there was no VAR either. And what happened after that? UEFA came out and said the referee was wrong. Germany should have been awarded a penalty kick because there's clearly a handball. And to me, this is the same with this. I think. I don't know if FIFA will actually come out and say anything this time, but to me, it's clear. And I know Neuer's his teammate. Neuer's come out and said, Dollar. My Italian friends call him Dollaruma. Dollaruma. Well, because he went for the money at PSG. Donnarumma. It's a reckless play, and it's a play that doesn't need to be made. Like, if you're a goalkeeper, you don't most goalkeepers are not making that play because it doesn't need to be made because your defender has the play taken care of.
Yeah, so that's where I agree. I don't think he needed to make it. I just disagree that.
And I know Thibaut Courtois has come out and said, no,
yeah,
he should be able to do that. And I will say to Thibaut Courtois, he should be able to do it because it's in his area, but then he should also be subject to the criticism for his actions and the consequences of them. And to me,
I mean, I'm not saying Anthony Taylor was heard humming the Dam Busters theme at halftime in the locker room, but
Yeah. Oh yeah, he's English. Yeah, of course the ref is
Yeah.
English. Yeah.
I don't like him as a ref.
No.
And there's been other incidents with him, and we were talking before this. He sometimes likes to make himself the center of attention in games. I'd be curious, actually, what our listeners think, because obviously we disagree. Do you think it was a penalty? Let us know. AFTN
Which
Canada
then
on Twitter.
yeah, and then so just that changes the course of the. That's I told you that to me. That's the whole
Oh
course of
yeah,
the game
but
because
PSG
not
did
only
it with 9 men as well, which is
well,
really insane.
not only does Bayern not have a penalty, they lose their best player.
Yes.
Like that. It was very crucial. I thought Bayern played actually really really well. Obviously Neuer made some huge saves. He had some huge, Neuer-esque, almost huge gaffes. I mean, one other player on the Bayern team who I wish wasn't there, coughs up the ball for the on the
Yes,
the
Harry
opening goal.
Kane, who
Yeah,
went down at one point clutching his face, and you see the replay, and there's no contact near his face whatsoever. It was a foul, but there was nothing affecting his face.
yeah,
For all the English commentators, it's not just Johnny Foreigner that does that. Your own
yeah,
boys can do that as well.
yeah.
That's what always annoys me. Like when they see this, it's like, oh, it's terrible. Our guys wouldn't fake that. It's like, no, they do all the time.
Yeah. And then yeah, we just didn't take our chances. The goals we scored obviously were clearly offside.
And you
Yeah.
got a penalty that was then
Which again,
yeah.
that penalty, yes, Muller doesn't get kicked in the face, but again, from the one angle, the guy, it's a dangerous play and
I was
can be
wondering what you'd think about that
it
because
can be
it was high foot.
exactly. There's no such thing called high foot. It's called dangerous play. And if you look at the one angle, which the referee does not look at on the replay, because we get to see everything he's looking at, is when you look at the one angle, you can see, I forget if it was Mendes or who it was, but he kicks through the side of Muller again. So he doesn't hit him in the face, but his leg comes through the side of him. And to me, that's enough to be a penalty. But that one's not nearly as egregious to me as the Dollaruma one is.
But the crazy thing is, PSG got 2 men sent off, so there
Yeah.
were 2 men in the semis. And you were talking to me before the game saying you felt Bayern's inability to beat Benfica in the group stage was going
Totally.
to cost them
Yeah.
because they're on the toughest side of the draw. And boy, were they in the toughest side of the draw. But then
Well, no one expected Al Hilal to knock off Man City. So the other side of the draw didn't,
yeah.
in the round of 16, it didn't look as easy as it did in the quarterfinals.
I
But
mean,
yeah,
the PSG setting off, like, silly. Not as silly, though, as Hudson for Real Madrid in the 96th minute of a game that you're winning 3-1 and you do a dogso challenge in the box to give away a penalty that's then converted, but there's not
yeah.
enough time then for Dortmund to get
That's
back
another
into
one.
it.
I would like to see. I would like to see. I know whatever. I would like to see. This is a FIFA tournament, so they have all the technology. I would like to see the lines on Mbappe's goal. I think there's a hint of offside on his goal, and the only way we could freeze it, pause it on our screen, it's on an angle, and he might very well be onside. But I would love to see that FIFA, and maybe it's out there somewhere. I didn't see it on the broadcast. I was watching live. I didn't see it on the broadcast. Oh no, sorry, I was not watching live. I watched in full. I watched the first half live, and I think I watched the second half back. But there's a hint of offside on that one. My opinion, his beautiful strike. It was a beautiful strike.
Yeah.
But yeah, Dortmund shot themselves in the foot in the first half, and they also listen to Manu talk about. It felt like they didn't really want to be there, weren't enjoying the tournament anyways.
Yeah.
And kind of feel like they achieved what they did. Now both the German clubs, I think, are walking home with like $50 million. For Bayern, it does not do as much as it will for Dortmund. They don't get these funds. Obviously, they're not going to get these funds until I think later in the season or later in the calendar year, or maybe not even
Really?
this year. Yeah, they don't get they won't, like, I don't think you can use this money in this transfer window kind of thing.
Oh, but it would be a shame because you could go out and replace Musiala.
Well, but that's the thing. They only get 50 million. Musiala is like 150 million euro player.
But you'd still get a decent enough replacement because you also don't want to spend too much because he's going to be coming back.
Well, yeah,
and give yourself that headache then moving forward.
Well, but yeah, for me, it's more like we're supposed to bring in Voltemata, which he's not a 10, but if they play him alongside the Englishman, it could solve that problem. Plus, we brought in this young guy, Tom Bischoff, who can play more attacking. And we have this guy who we were going to send on loan, who's 19-year-old named Paul Vanner, who is a number 10 and can be brilliant. So the question now will be, is company willing to maybe use him in that role a little bit, or are they going to say, no, we want him to play every single minute somewhere? But last year he went on loan to Heidenheim and was lights out at the beginning of the year and then faded and hardly played in the second half until he set up their relegation playoff winning goal for them in the second leg. But anyways, it's interesting times.
The semi-finals are Fluminense and Chelsea on Tuesday, PSG, Real Madrid on Wednesday. I wish they were on different days because I'm taking Annie to the groomers on Tuesday, so I might not see the second half live of the Fluminense game, but I'm obviously wanting them to win not just that game but the whole tournament now.
Yeah,
even really couldn't care about PSG, Real Madrid, who wins that one, I got to say.
Yeah, even though Flamengo, it would be my Brazilian club of choice, and their arch rivals are Fluminense, I still would like Fluminense to also beat Chelsea and win this. The
Fluminense Chelsea game, we were talking about this beforehand. The tickets have dropped from over $400 to $13
US plus fees. Yeah. Flo sent me a message about it. He's like, "Do you want to go? It's like $20." I'm like, yeah.
I did the flights.
Yeah, I can't.
And hotels and
yeah.
But yeah.
Plus, no, forget that. I got a Voyageurs Cup match that day.
Oh, of course. Well, that brings us nicely to talk about CPL, Vancouver FC. The last thing we'll talk about in this show, football-wise. Only one CPL game this weekend, somewhat bizarrely. 2-1 win for Forge at home to Vancouver. Meant to PVR it, forgot, so only watched the highlights, but I'd seen the score by that point. I've got to say, your boys played some nice stuff, and they gave a really good account of themselves.
Yeah. Vancouver FC is always plays Forge away really well. Last year we were undefeated there. Like we had a win and a draw. The year before we had a goalless draw and a loss. I forget what the score was in that one, but we've done really well at Forge.
Failed by 2, pulled one back with Vasco Fry deep in stoppage time. Just not enough time.
The opening. I can't remember if you and I. I was talking to someone else with this earlier tonight. The opening goal is an absolute shambolic. Kunle Dadaluke, I don't know what is going on. And he, unfortunately, the own goal goes against.
It goes against Panya, which I'd seen he'd got the own goal, and I was watching it. I was like, was that an goal? But then you see it back, and it's he's trying to clear it because the ball's just saved by Callum Irvin, and then it's just bouncing about the 6-yard box.
Callum made some huge saves. An unfortunate own goal in the first half, and then a goal in the second half where like even O'Connor doesn't pick up well. I think that was possibly Aidan
O'Connor's worst game that I've seen him play for Vancouver. It's some good moments, but he got caught out a little bit.
And then the big point of the game again is it's not Musiala level, but
this is something else we also slightly disagree on.
I've watched it again actually since we were talking earlier. I've watched it again, and I'm willing to say I might be wrong.
Okay, so Emmerich Fotzing, which if you're regular listeners to this bit in the show, you'll know Zach's been raving about him all year. I'm on the Fotzing bandwagon as well. He looks tremendous.
To me, he's like he has the potential to be like a future Atiba Hutchison type player for Canada, in my opinion. Will he reach those heights? Who knows? But that's kind of how I see him.
He was taken to hospital.
So again, he was playing in a more advanced position in this game. And ball was played forward in the air, and he was going to head it, and Nimick was coming to attack the ball, and Nimick, I guess, wins the ball, and also it's his shoulder that really.
The shoulder's the thing that maybe does the damage. Because the thing is, like, there was no malice in it.
But that's the thing. I'm not sure. I think he actually does sort of lower the shoulder.
See, you think he does, but I think that's just how he jumps when you're going against a guy. Because height-wise, Nimic's way taller, but also bulky-wise,
Yeah, he's bigger.
way bigger and got more that if you put the shoulder down and going against a guy with a slim frame like Fotzing, you're going to send him flying, you're going to win the ball. Unfortunately, in this case, it led to a concussion, which he gets taken to hospital. He was released the night of the game and he flew back with the team.
Yeah,
But
he was in a neck brace.
yeah, it
ambulance on the
looked,
field and all that stuff.
it
Yeah.
was like the Stephen Fry thing.
Yeah.
At the time, it's looked a lot worse than it's turned out to be.
When I watched it live and then watched replays live, I thought it looks like he's lining him up. As I've watched it now, I might be wrong. He might be dipping his shoulder just for position and whatever, but
I think it is, and I think it was just two guys going for the ball.
you can also
Got that height advantage.
You could also, I think, though, here's the thing. I think Nimick knows he's done wrong because of how he stays down, because there's no injury to his head.
Yeah.
And so he stays down, gets up, I think goes down again. I think that's partly why I thought the day of, I thought he knows he's done something that he shouldn't have done here.
Yeah.
And that's why
like
he's
in the Seattle game, I can't remember who the Columbus player was now. He didn't do anything wrong, but he was really shaken up by the incident. He was like crouched down, like hands on his head, the side of his head. Like he was like, shit, I've really, really hurt him. And there was nothing in that. He didn't do anything wrong, but he was really shaken up by it. And I wonder if Nimick was like initially what you're saying, and then seeing that he's injured and thinking, "Oh, crap."
I will say this: if he did do it on purpose, it wasn't as obvious as a Vasco Fry.
Yes.
Moment, which Fry played incredibly well in this match. Hit the
yeah,
post,
and he's reined it in a bit, but she's had
the
to
goal.
do.
He's trying to prove himself as being like the significant linchpin that he wants to be, and that Afshin, I think, typically sees him as. So
I do like I worry when guys make mistakes if they get punished by Goatpay, and Fry's such a key player to this team. Thankfully, he hasn't been. I do worry now that Capagna might see himself dropped because he got an own goal, and hopefully not, because him and Baz, the two guys I'm really, well, and I guess Gobu as well, they're the guys I'm really wanting to do well. Just
Gobu played
Whitecaps and UBC connection and stuff.
Henri played good in this game. I thought should have had a goal. His finishing let him down.
Yeah, you need to keep that down.
Yeah.
I still think he's going back to UBC. I think it would be foolish for him to stay with a team that's bottom. I don't see what he gets from that when he can go back and continue his education and defend a national title.
He can continue his education as a footballer, Michael.
Yeah, but it's not the same.
No, but it'll be interesting to see how that plays out. Both him and Asusi have been like incredible draft picks.
Yeah,
in the U Sports draft,
yes.
Like absolutely incredible.
There's been like Jovan Mann's not getting a look in at Halifax. Don't know if he's injured or just out of favour with Patrice. So I imagine he's coming back to UBC as well. Every game I check to see if he's in the roster. He's been on it twice, maybe.
Yeah.
I don't know what's happening there, but
so with this loss for Vancouver FC, I mean the game on Tuesday at Weighted Cavalry Voyageurs Cup second leg.
Let's talk about that.
It's 1-1. Cavalry is the huge favorite. They're at home. They're 11 games undefeated against Vancouver FC, right? I forget now. The away goals rule got scrapped this year.
Yeah,
right?
it's totally out.
Right. So not even they don't even have to lose with a draw. Like if they tie 2-2, Cavs are still in it.
Yep.
So the Cavs are the favorite. But I honestly think that there's a glimmer of hope for Vancouver FC, and they have a chance. And it's cup football, so we'll see. Maybe in a similar way to how Valor maybe has even a less of a chance against the Whitecaps. I think there's like a glimmer of hope for Vancouver FC, and I'm excited to be driving to the game and taking it in, and hoping it'll be another great day out at Spruce Meadows, because it's a wonderful place to watch football.
Should be a good game. It's on the Tuesday, so you can watch that on One Soccer. Whitecaps game on Wednesday, and then the draw at half-time of the Whitecaps game. So we'll see. First leg of the semi-finals is going to be on the 12th or the 13th of August. And then the second leg is going to be in September after the international break.
Well, that's for sure, right?
Yeah, so it's like the 16th or 17th is the second legs.
That's very helpful for me because I leave on the 14th for Costa Rica. So, okay, cool.
Well, you leave. Oh, yeah. So if you're in it, that'll be perfect. Although, if it turns out that you're playing on the Wednesday, the day before you leave, make sure you've got everything packed.
Oh no, everything will have to be packed because of how the journey goes. Yeah,
because it does go by seeding as to who hosts first. So the Whitecaps will definitely be the second leg, no matter what happens with the draw. So if Vancouver do make it into the semi-finals, they would be hosting the first leg.
Yeah,
maybe a Vancouver derby. So that Cavalry Vancouver game kicks off at Spruce Meadows at 6:30 p.m. Pacific time. One of two games that's going to get played at the quarterfinals second leg stage on Tuesday. The other being York United hosting Atletico Ottawa, and Ottawa go into that one with a narrow 2-1 lead. And the CPL league leaders will go into that as the big favourites, as Cavalry will against Vancouver. Wednesday sees the last two quarterfinal second legs played out. 4 o'clock Pacific time, Montreal host Forge, with the CPL side having a narrow 1-0 lead. That game should be an absolute cracker. And then the last of the 4 quarterfinals. That stage wraps up on Wednesday evening as the Whitecaps host Valor at BC Place at 7 o'clock. Get out to that one if you can. And talking of that game, one last little bit of audio that we'll bring you just now, and we'll get some thoughts from Valor head coach and former Whitecaps assistant coach Phil DeSantis ahead of this game. Just some of his thoughts from his pre-match presser. So Phil, a big game obviously coming up on Wednesday, still very much in the tie. How weird has it been to have to wait so long between the legs, and what are you expecting from the game on Wednesday night from the Whitecaps?
Michael, not weird at all. We knew it was like that. So, we just played that first game and then moved on to what was next. And now we're, it's another game. We expect a strong team. Like I said it before the first game, it's arguably one of the best teams in North America in CONCACAF right now. And, when they came here, there's a travel factor, there is the unknown factor, and now it's a different match. We have to prepare well, and we have to be ready for the best version of the Whitecaps.
Talking of best versions, I think we saw the best version of Valor in that first leg match.
Yeah.
How difficult has it been to try and replicate that? And is it just because it was a big game that you feel the players really rose to the occasion? And what's the struggles been to try and get them to replicate that in league form?
Yeah, look, I think that there's an emotional factor, of course, and it's been a problem for us. It's let's not hide it. It's been consistency even inside the same games. We've had ups and downs, and either conceding goals in critical moments, very late in halves, or you look at the 2 times we play Halifax, we concede after the 85th minute to end up losing the game. So, we just have to be better managing those moments. We just have to be more consistent. We know that there is quality. There is something in the guys that lead us to believe that we can't drop the towel. We have to keep pushing, and that's what we have worked on. We just need to find consistency, and of course that game against the Whitecaps being the blueprint. Now there's no 2 games that are the same, so it's about managing the highs and the lows in the different matches and be able to impose a rhythm when we have the chance to do it, and cope with what the opposition is bringing to us in a way where we don't concede, we weather storms, and we are able to stay in games when things are not going our way and when we cannot dictate things. So for us, it's going to be important that we, in a very humble way, realize that it hasn't been enough and we need to find our ground. We need to find a way to turn things around. For me, the first thing is the guys can't quit. It's going to be about the mentality of the guys. It's going to be about the locker room, about making sure that in the challenges we stay together. And, what a game. What a game when you think about it. And I might be answering 500 questions here, so we'll be done with the press conference very, very quick. But the truth is that with the 2-2, we gave ourselves a chance to now play for one game. And in football, crazier things have happened.
Just following on Michael's question, it's been a tough run of late for you recently. Your team's faced the top teams in the league. But do you see Wednesday's game as a chance to kind of lay down a new marker or reset, sort of?
If you would have asked me that this could be the game that turns the season around, or which game you want to play to turn a season around, I would tell you that this is the best one. Win, lose, or draw, you want a good performance. You want to match up with the best. And that's what we're going to do. We're playing a very good team. Let's not kid ourselves. It's a team that's going to be prepared for us. It's a team that is electric. The way they press the opposition, the way they attack, the pace in which they do it, the courage and the aggression in which they play. It's worked against the best teams in North America, and it's an identity that the Whitecaps have, and we don't expect anything differently. So what a moment for us to play them. Again, I told the guys, if we put ourselves in this position where the leg is not lost, so now if we don't believe, then we're not playing the game. We have to go and believe that we could get something out of it.
Yeah, I touched on it, but after a few tough results, what's the message to the locker room? Heading into this game. Obviously, on paper it's kind of like a David versus Goliath, but like you said, it's a one match. Anything can happen. So, what's kind of your message to the boys this week before you guys head to Vancouver?
It's the same. We keep working. We have to work. Again, I told them the same thing I've told you guys. We earned the right to be going to Vancouver and play for one result. And that's a right that the guys earned. Nobody gave it to us. That's what that 2-2 draw gave us. And now we have to go one play at a time, one half at a time. See where we're at after the first 45 minutes. We need to play a very perfect game. And when I say that, it's an almost perfect game in order to go to a place like BC Place and get a result. So the guys know what's at stake. The guys know that it's going to be difficult, but we've done it once. So why not try and do it again? That's all I could say to the guys. It's make them believe that there is an opportunity here. And I think that the week has been good for us. I think that, there's one way that we can't go. In one direction we can't go is we can't try and do it alone. Any player that's going to isolate themselves on an island to try and win a match like that or showcase themselves in a way where they start doing it alone, then we might as well not go and play the match. It's going to need to be a collective effort. It's going to need to be a team effort. And again, it's a privilege that we have today to go to BC Place and play a match like this where everything is on. You concede a goal, nothing has changed. You have to keep pushing. It's you score a goal, you're gonna have to weather a storm. So it's gonna be played throughout 90 minutes, and I want the guys to have that mentality.
Obviously, it's an organization that you're very familiar with, Phil. When you look back at your time with the Whitecaps, just what kind of sticks out to you, and what did that chapter of your career mean to you?
Look, I'm very fortunate. I'm I'm thankful to God for the moment in which I was with the Whitecaps. We went through the pandemic there, and it was one of the few organizations that was extremely, how can I say, they were incredible in the way they treated us and the way they honored their obligations. And being in a city like Vancouver, where yes, there were restrictions, but you could be outdoors for the majority of the year, and only positive things. Yes, football-wise, there were challenges. There were a lot of struggles, with the early days of the foundation that they built today. But at the end of the day, you were part of an organization that is top, is now, how can I say, collecting the fruits of the hard work and the struggles that they had to go through. And I keep an eye on them. I have a lot of friends there still, and I'm not talking about an emotional element here, because I think that after 4 or 5 years, that's gone. But there's a lot of people that I still care for in that organization that I still love. So, it's always good to get to play them.
With that said, I'm sure it'd be nice for you to knock off your old club, I'm sure.
For the club, for Valor, for the players, of course, it would be incredible. It would be a miracle, and that's the truth. But we've seen it. It's football. It's pro sports. These things could happen.
What would you say would be, obviously without giving too much away here, but in case what Vancouver's listening, but what do you think is the key to this matchup on Wednesday to slow down what's been a pretty good Whitecaps team?
Look, we're gonna need to first and foremost defend well. We'll need to take away the spaces. We saw in the first game how there's also rewards in the way they play, and how we could be rewarded if we press in the right moments. So it's understanding those moments and being able to do it collectively. If we go and we sit back for 90 minutes, it's going to be extremely hard. But we'll need to collectively defend well, very well. Whether the moments where they're going to be on top of us, maybe creating a wave or 2 or 3 of attack, try not to concede in those moments. And then every time we have a chance to break and either to go to goal or to stay on the ball a little bit, we'll need to manage those moments very well so we could breathe a little bit. And then, the dead ball situations, we saw how important they were in the first game. We scored off a corner kick. They scored off 2 set play situations. So for me, that's going to be a defining moment to win the game. So those are areas where we'll need to be very good at.
Phil DeSantis there chatting about the great opportunity Valor have against the Whitecaps on Wednesday night. The tie is tied up at 2 apiece. Whitecaps obviously clearly going into that as heavy favourites, and as we talked about earlier, will be interesting to see what team the Whitecaps roll out for that one. But whatever team they roll out, it should be good enough to beat one of the worst sides in the CPL, although those do seem to be the games this season that they are struggling with. But that is it now for the football chat. We can't end, of course, without bringing you this episode's Wavelength. And for those newish to the show, Wavelength is the part of the show where we play a song all about football or connected with football, either from a proper band or artist, or a football club itself, their supporters, maybe even a footballer themselves. And for this week, I think there was only one theme that we could have gone with for the song, and that is the dearly departed Diogo Jota. And this is a song that was released a couple of years ago by Liverpool singer-songwriter Jamie Webster, and it's his version of the famous chant heard all around Anfield. This is Jamie Webster, the Diogo Jota song. Jamie Webster, the Diogo Jota song there, R.I.P. to Diogo Jota and his brother. Sad, sad times. It's a great song. It's been sung a lot in the last couple of days. That's a nice version of it. That is it now, though, for the show. It's been another long one, so we'll just keep this briefish. Any final thoughts from you? Any shout-outs you want to give?
No, just get out to the Cup football this week. If you're in Calgary, if you're at the Stampede and you're in Calgary, take a break from the Stampede, come watch some football. If you're in Vancouver, get out and watch the Whitecaps take on Valor.
Yeah, and I'll be interested to see what crowd they get for that, because it's obviously not an exciting game for the masses, and it's a midweek game as well in the heat of summer. It reminds me the one time I've been to Calgary to watch the Cavalry take on the Whitecaps was during the Stampede as well. And when I checked into the hotel, they were like, "Oh, you here for the Stampede?" And I'm like, "No, the soccer." Huh? Very confused that it was soccer. If you don't want to go to those games on Wednesday, you can head along to Swangard. TSS take on Burnaby, the Burnaby Derby. Big implications in the men's division. The women's division is nearly wrapped up, depending on what Unity do in their game on Wednesday night. If they drop any points, Altitude will be crowned women's champions for the first time. If they don't, Altitude can win it at Kinsman in North Vancouver next Sunday. I'll have that as our game of the week on YouTube. But it's your last chance to get out to Kinsman Field to take a game in there. Great to do. Free admission as well. And the battle is still technically a 4-horse race in the men's division in League One. I think it's really now down to just a 2-horse race between league leaders Langley, who dropped 2 points on Saturday night against Unity, TSS, who sit 1 point behind them, who also dropped 2 points in a pulsating 2-2 draw with Altitude. Oh, that was an amazing last 15 minutes, including stoppage time. And Altitude play Langley next Sunday, and if Langley drop points in that, then it's TSS's to lose. But right now, it's all Langley's to lose. So fantastic football to get out and see. That is it now for this episode of the AFTN Soccer Show. We'll be back with another one soon. Until next time, as always, take care. Thanks for listening. And as always, Mon the Caps.
Going to your first match is an experience you never forget. The atmosphere of what's going on around the pitch looks beautiful, and you always look and go, wow, I'd love to play here one day. If you get the bug, it's going to stay with you for life.
10 minutes left, yeah, but